Magic the Gathering.
Magic, 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 I'm so magic.
Gathering magic.
Spend a lot of money on cards.
Playing cool cards with my friends.
Playing all so magic.
We're all winners in the end.
So I tried to, typically when you come over, I try to make sure this is all cleared off. I literally clean my desk.
Do you really?
Before recording sessions.
Wow,
yeah,
I
just
feel
for
honored.
like peace of mind. I think it, helps me lock in a little bit.
Yeah.
Currently Luke is staring at, I think, like 10 stacks of cards.
Yep.
There's just stuff all over my desk. I feel
Probably
for,
like 4 inches tall.
for such
4 or
like
6
a,
inches.
for maybe our biggest episode yet, it's a little bit embarrassing that my desk is in such disarray.
No, you're good. You're good.
However, I looked down and I noticed we've got the fishing pole
I love this
equipment.
card.
Yeah, you texted a photo of this to the group chat, and I had actually, when I pre-ordered stuff from Foundations, I needed a foil fishing pole for my equipment deck.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll actually end up putting this in. I just like that so for one colorless, you get an artifact equipment. Equipped creature has 1 in tap fishing pole, and put a bait counter on fishing pole. So you're kind of casting your line a little bit. And then whenever the equipped creature becomes untapped, you remove a bait counter from this equipment. So you're like reeling it in. And if you do, you create a 1/1 blue fish creature token. So it's really, it's
I
cute.
love it.
It's clever. So I had to, and my equipment deck is Astor, Bearer of Blades. So it's also a vehicle deck. So I can use the fish that this creates to crew stuff.
I love that.
How funny is that? Just having
It's
a bunch
amazing.
of fish. So I feel like I have to. It's fishing pole is like definitely, this is a limited card. I don't know. I don't even really know kind of what the deal is with this card. Definitely not a good commander card,
Oh, it's horrible. But the flavor.
but it's
though.
cool.
The flavor.
Like I can go send my commander on a fishing trip.
Yeah.
Like how cool is that?
Oh, 100%. Also, it's kind of like a lot of people when they play like MMOs, they like get really into the fishing mechanic.
Right. Yeah.
So you could just literally just fish all game.
Could get
You
level
just
99
ignore us
and
and then just like see how many fish you can catch in
it's
a
like
game.
It's my mini game.
Yeah.
How many fish I can get. Yeah, I love that.
I love it. I love it.
So
I'm
I
here
might,
for it.
the one I've got, it's called like Moon Sliver Spear, that creates angels.
Okay.
Which obviously it's definitely a better equipment than this, but I think that's what I'm going to cut in place of for the fishing pole. I'm going to put the fishing pole in place of let me pull it up here. It's called, Moon Silver Spear, which gives an equipped creature first strike, and whenever the equipped creature attacks, you create a 4/4 angel with flying. So
Okay.
definitely better than the old fishing pole, but I just think this is funnier. So I'm going to put this in.
Yeah, that's
instead.
way better. I agree.
I also regrettably just cut Comet. I had Comet Stellar Pup as the one planeswalker in this deck.
R.I.P.
But I replaced it for, what did I replace it for? Let's take a look at my deck history. Oh, Leyline Axe, which is, I had to do it. I've got an equipment deck and there's a Leyline equipment now. I had to do it. So
Yeah. For the culture,
Yeah.
at least.
they've been going hard with the Leylines in the last few sets. I don't know why.
There's one employee at Wizards that just really loves it.
Yeah, he's into the ley lines. So eventually we'll have a ley line commander. Be ready. A legendary creature that.
What if it's a
always-
planeswalker? Would you be sad?
Maybe not. I'm trying to think of how that would work. Like I wonder if you could give a creature the effect of a ley line, where if it's in your starting hand, it goes onto the battlefield.
Yeah.
And then because that's on the battlefield, it has all other cards in your starting hand also. So you can literally just dump your hand.
Yeah. Turn 1.
That's pretty broken.
I like that.
That's pretty funny though. You'd have to lean so heavy into that though.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Just food for thought.
Your first hand would have to be you'd mulligan until you had a whole hand of ley lines.
I don't even think I would even play lands in that deck. It would just be like playset of Gristlebrand, playset of Atraxa, playset of the new Galta, playset of Valgavoth. It's just that it would just be all creatures and then just hope you hit your ley line.
Oh hell yeah. I'm down. I like it.
It's the new show and tell. It's just Leyline Scam is the new
Leyline Scam.
the new deck we just created.
I love it.
But anyways, hello and welcome to Wild Dogs Podcast, a show inspired mostly by our love for the game known as Magic the Gathering. I'm your host, Leland, and with me here today is our other co-host, Luke.
Hey, everyone.
And thank you for stopping by and listening to us ramble about all things magic. She's crying in the background. I don't know if you can hear
The third dog
that.
speaks.
The third dog, she speaks.
That's all right.
Yeah, I guess that kind of leads us right into our updates. In that my update is I'm still in dad mode.
Yeah, you really are.
I really am.
Also, that's not going to go away for probably the rest of your life.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You will be in dad mode forever now.
I'm just in dad mode.
It's like a tattoo,
Indefinitely.
but cooler.
I should just get dad mode tattooed on my... Or you know how Post Malone has like always tired on under his eyes?
Does he? Okay.
Yeah, I should just have dad mode
Yeah. That's a
tattooed
great idea.
under my eyes. Yeah.
Get on your knuckles, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I'm down.
Yeah, so that's kind of my primary update. I also want to talk about Fumiko again. I think we talked about Fumiko on either the last episode or the episode before that, but Fumiko is now officially in paper, and I tested her out at Luke's kitchen table for a commander night, and she's awesome.
Smashing success.
Yeah, literally
Easily the best deck at the table.
all you have to do is cast Fumiko, and it just changes the game so much because she forces all your opponent's creatures to attack. It
Yeah.
just completely just changed the whole vibe of the game, and I think a good way.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm really high on Fumiko right now. I'm going to be keeping it $100 budget deck. That's the other part of it is it's can't exceed $100. With exception, I did add Valakut because I had one and I was like, this is the perfect mono red deck where I've got a bunch of stuff that amplifies damage dealt,
Yeah.
and I've got Valakut and a billion mountains. So I'm playing like a $20 land, but you can just cut Valakut for a basic mountain and
Why
we're
not?
within that $100 price range again. But that being said, I'm kind of all in with Fumiko. Definitely one of my favorite decks I currently have. And then we're also getting into pre-modern, and it's cool. It's a cool format.
I didn't know about this format until you guys came over on Wednesday and were telling me about it.
Yeah,
But-
and Taylor and I, we got a couple games in. He is currently playing a deck called, it's like Replenish is
Replenish.
the card.
Okay.
But it's basically like, it's a combo deck with, let me pull it up quick. Yeah, it's Parallax Replenish because it's got Parallax Wave and Parallax Tide.
Okay.
Essentially what he's trying to do is put these enchantments into his graveyard with stuff like Intuition, Frantic Search, Replenish being the big one. It's literally...
Yeah.
This is the combo piece. You return all enchantments that are in your graveyard to play. So it's kind of like it's Reanimator
Yeah.
for enchantments.
Okay.
And then Parallax Tide hits all your opponent's lands. You can exile all target. So you can remove Fading Counter to remove target land from the game. And then Parallax Wave does that, but with creatures.
Okay.
So the whole bit of this, and from my minimal understanding of pre-modern right now, it's very... There are a lot of creature combo decks from kind of what I'm picking up on.
Yeah.
The one I showed you that I think you'll like is called The Rock. It's like a weird squirrel. Yeah, it's like Squirrel Reanimator
Yeah.
with, I think it's Heritage Druid.
I love
Or
it.
no, sorry. Deranged Hermit. Because the ETBs create a bunch of squirrels, pumps all your squirrels, sack it somehow, or something happens to your hermit. Bring it
I love
back
it.
with, Recurring Nightmare or something. It's just like really, it's a clever deck. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking of putting together Dead Guy Ale, which is this cool Orzhov control deck that's, pennies. It's literally like a lot of lists are like between $50 to $100, which is sick.
Just nothing.
Whereas like Legacy, it's like
Couple
$2,000, $3,000.
Yeah.
And then, I think Luke would really like The Rock because it's kind of this goofy, weird, creature-focused reanimator type thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot. Terrageddon's really cool. It's this goofy, you only run, or maybe I'm thinking of the Oath of Druids deck. Terrageddon's another cool one. But the Oath deck, I think, also runs, Terravor. So Terravor, Luke, this is a very you creature, I think, because it's a mono green creature.
I
has
want to play this
trample.
deck instead.
Yeah, maybe this is what you do.
I wanna play this one.
It's a combo deck. but we'll figure this out. Its power and toughness are equal to the number of land cards in all graveyards.
Okay.
And so you run Oath of Druids, which because you only have this one, a play set of one creature in your deck, you cast an Oath of Druids, which during each player's upkeep, if that player controls fewer creatures than the target opponent, that player may reveal cards from his or her library until they reveal a creature card. You then put that creature into play, and all the revealed cards go to your graveyard.
Ooh.
So the whole combo here is you cast an Oath of Druids and then the rest of your deck is fairly thin. You run 28 lands, which is pretty high, and then Terravore. So the idea is you basically mill your deck off of an Oath of Druids until you hit a Terravore, which then goes into play, and then all the lands you mill juice up your Terravore.
I'm playing this deck.
Yeah. Okay.
1000%. That's what I want.
Yeah. It seems really cool. You're also running stuff like Zern Orb. Like I'm a big, lands is my deck for Legacy. So this is right up my alley too. So this is going to be.
Oh, I love this.
This is going to be a really fun one. So you really lean into your Mox Diamonds. This sounds very similar to Terrageddon, where you run Armageddon.
Okay.
So it destroys all of your lands, all of your opponent's lands, but then that boosts up your Terravore.
I love that.
So
I'm playing this.
yeah. So we're gonna have some fun in pre-modern. Is my long-winded point. Is we're getting into pre-modern now.
Heck yeah, I love it.
How about you? What are the Luke updates?
Nothing too crazy. Kind of a Wild Dogs update is that, hey, we are now on YouTube, everybody. So right now we've been on Spotify for the last, for most of this year, and we commissioned some artwork and we have some videos up, and so now all of our episodes can be found on YouTube as well. So you have two platforms to pick from. We prefer if you listen to the episode on Spotify and then right afterwards listen to it again on YouTube.
Oh yeah, I like that. Yeah.
So if you're a true fan, you'll listen to it on both platforms.
Double up.
But yeah, no, and so yeah, just listeners expect when an episode comes out, it'll come out on Spotify first, but then a day or so later it'll come out on YouTube.
Yeah, that'll be the cadence. But yeah, thank you, Luke. You've definitely put in the legwork for getting these things uploaded, and yeah, we now have multiple platforms.
We got all the platforms, baby. Yeah. So expect expect some fun stuff to come, and there'll be we're on YouTube as well. Just reminding everybody.
So Food for Thoughtcast. I ask a question at the end of each episode, and then we answer it in the next one.
Okay.
The new section. Our Food for Thoughtcast question last episode was, what is your favorite 1/2 for 3? Creature whose power and toughness is 1/2. It costs 3 mana. According to Scryfall, there are 129 1/2s for 3. So, Luke, take her away.
All right, guys. So for this one, I chose Opaline Unicorn. I'm a big unicorn fan when it comes to, there's a lot of mono green unicorns, which is kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to make, this is off subject, but I wanted to make, there's the Shadowfax deck, and I was like, oh man, this will be so much fun. Then I realized, I was like, oh wait, no, they're unicorns. They're not horses, so I can't play, it won't work. Okay. But anyways, Opaline Unicorn. It's an artifact creature unicorn, and you tap it, and it taps for 1 mana of any color in your mana pool. And then the flavor text says, Perforos once loved Nylea, the god of the hunt. His passion inspired his most astounding works of art. And then the artwork for it is basically like a metal-worked horse that looks really cool. Or unicorn that looks really cool.
It's really cool. By Christine Choi.
Yeah, she killed it.
Yeah, totally knocked it out of the park.
And also, I think this is a card you could play.
Yeah, it seems playable. I mean, it's a mana rock, mana dork for 3 mana. It's like, on rate for Commander Sphere. So
yeah, not bad.
Play it. Throw it in your Commander deck. Why not?
Yeah. So, okay, what did you do?
So I chose, I found this card while
it looks so cool.
Doing the classic TCG, trying to hit $5 for free shipping. I was like going through a seller's store and stumbled across Cemetery Puka, which comes from, I think this is Morningtide. Or no, Shadowmoor. Shadowmoor, the other. After Lorwyn, there was the block of Morningtide and Shadowmoor. So this is from Shadowmoor. For 1 and Dimir Hybrid. So for 3 mana, you get a 1/2. a 1/2 for 3.
I love it.
Shapeshifter. Whenever a creature is put into a graveyard from play, you can pay 1. If you do, Cemetery Puka becomes a copy of that creature and gains this ability. So it's like a really kind of funky 3-mana clone
Okay.
that you can like slowly over the course of a game adapt into better creatures when they hit the graveyard. So if you're playing
that's
like
cool.
a Dimir control deck, you can like snipe down your enemy's creatures and then pay 1 to turn your Cemetery Puka into that creature as you kill it. I think it's
That's really fun.
really cool design. It's got the flavor text. "'Tis a strange creature indeed that chooses the vanquished over the victor," by Awilla, Elvish Safe Right.
That's how I read it in my mind too.
Yeah.
That voice.
Yeah, I had to get to the mind of Awilla there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this art by Omar Rayan is some of my favorite art. It's just so cool. It's this like twisted, like horse aberration thing with Stonehenge in the background, this like twisted tree and these like little Elden Ring thumbprint stones from the DLC of Shadow of the Erd Tree.
It also kind of looks like a horse.
Yeah, it's a weird horse aberration that has like one human hand and like a human torso that's maybe twisting into this like horse body. So it's a crazy looking card.
Very cool.
That should be on its way. I'm pretty sure I threw it in one of my TCG player orders. So
Heck yeah.
you might be seeing this in a commander deck.
I better
sometime
be.
Soon.
I hope so. That's awesome.
So yeah, Cemetery Puka is my favorite 1/2 for 3.
I love it.
So yeah, and then stay tuned to the end of the episode for this episode's Food for Thoughtcast question. So
Perfect. Can't wait.
but here we are. All that being said, we finally made it to our main topic for today, which is the ins and outs of building a commander deck.
Yes.
Looking forward to 2025. We wanted to create the kind of quintessential guide for new players, old players who are looking to build a commander deck and maybe haven't either had to do that or they've been kind of set in their way of building decks for a while and just want like a reminder or a refresher on the kind of essentials of building a commander deck. So
on top of it too, we crunched the numbers. We got data to back up what we're saying.
We did quite a bit of research. I looked at the commander precons from both 2023 and 2024, all 52 decks. I looked at every single card and so did Luke.
Yep.
And we both did kind of our own analysis. And so we're coming together to kind of review our data points that we both have come up with over the past month or so. And yeah, I'm excited to dive in here.
All right. So Leland, when making a commander deck, where do we start?
Got to pick out a commander.
Yep.
Plain and simple before you can even get into thinking. I guess you can consider like, oh, I want to build a reanimator deck or I want to build a deck with a bunch of soldiers in it. You can kind of have an idea of where you want to go, and that might be a good jumping off point.
Yeah.
But you need to find your commander. So I think the best approach to that is just find one you love. Like don't put a lot of pressure on finding one that will win you the game necessarily.
Yeah.
I think that mentality I think that's good to like want to build a strong commander because that usually equates to strong gameplay and being effective at the commander table, which is a huge part of the fun of commander is winning for sure.
Yeah.
But I think more important than that is picking a commander that really like vibes with your soul. Like pick something that you just a goofy, like you were saying, Shadowfax is just like a cool horse from Lord of the Rings. Like, is that going to be the best deck at the table?
Oh, it's gonna be horrible.
Maybe not, but it's also going to have cards in there that feel fun to cast. And I think that's important for casual. And I think that's a good thing to right off top as a disclaimer. This is going to be about building for casual.
Yes.
And casual can be all power levels. Like these principles that we're going to discuss apply to, the power level 7. My deck is a 7. It applies to if you're on that 1 to 10 scale, which is a flawed system.
Yeah.
It applies to the 10s. It applies to the 2s. but this is for casual. It's not. We're not going to really look or touch on CDH. I think that's a whole other beast.
Yeah, it's its own thing.
Deck building for CDH is far more complex and really does not fit into a casual deck template. Just a quick example is I've got 2 CDH decks and they run both of them run 29 lands.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's...
Absolutely
Don't do that, guys.
Under no
It's horrible.
circumstances should a casual deck be running below 34 lands. So
No.
because CDH runs fast mana, they're trying to... CDH are trying to win turn 2, turn 3, typically. That's not the case for casual. Casual is... You can have high power commanders at casual.
Yeah.
But we're playing commander. We're not playing CDH is what we're talking about here today. So,
Yeah,
Luke, I know you made the parallel to picking a fighting game character.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, no, when it comes to picking, there's a lot of analysis on picking a fighting game character, and there's all these people talking about it. But at the end of the day, you want to find a commander that, number one, looks cool to you. Just flat out, as low tech as that is, just do they look cool to you? And then after that, it's okay, next, the saying that they say in fighting game characters is that it's got to fit your hand.
Okay, what does that mean?
Meaning in a fighting game, you have different characters have different motions that you move with the joystick, and so some people are I don't like how this character, they look cool, but I don't like how it fits in my hand. I don't like. This person might be a charge character and I don't like doing charge motions, or vice versa. Where it's this one's got motions and I like charge. So you got to find, so similar to, commander, it's you got to find a commander that looks cool, but also mechanically fits what you enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
And, if you're going to spend countless hours playing, at the table with your friends with this commander, not only do they have to fit your personality, but they also have to fit what you would find fun.
Totally.
And yeah, kind of in that same vein too, this might be a little bit in the weeds for where we're going, but kind of some tips for some new players. As the fits your hands go, you found a commander that looks cool. There are some archetypes and gameplay plans that I would kind of stick away from.
Okay.
So
yeah, I kind of like that. So these are kind of examples of if you're a new player or you're returning to commander and you're not quite sure of building, or there's a commander that looks appealing, but it might be a little complicated. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Yeah. So for instance, you might get, if you're a new player and you see Urza, you're like, oh my gosh, this guy looks so cool. He's this old man. He's got this cool staff, all this stuff. I wouldn't recommend the infinite artifact combo route.
Sure.
That's hey, you'll get there eventually, but if you're new, I would, things. So yeah, so what I'm saying is things like infinite combos, spellslinger decks, mill graveyard matter stuff, or even too partner background commanders.
Okay.
I wouldn't recommend for a new player because that's a little bit too in the weeds. You're not there yet.
You just think having 2 things in the command zone might be a little...
Yeah.
Okay.
And I guess it's hard to balance too.
True, because it's kind of on you to pick and choose and build. I actually my first commander deck was a background one.
Oh, really?
It was Lulu, Loyal Hollyphant, and another white is Far Traveler or something. It was because it was a flicker deck, which eventually became a Preston the Vanisher deck.
Okay.
I think I agree with you. It's cool. A lot of them are... I'm torn because on one hand, being able to pick and choose not just one but 2 commanders and be able to create the color identity you want with the characters in mind or the background in mind that you is really fun. I actually think I have 3 or 4 of my commander decks have the background, but I can see what you're saying as far as it being, if you have to create, basically what you're doing is you're building a commander. It's Build-A-Bear commander.
Yeah.
And if you accidentally pick maybe 2 partners that look cool but aren't as synergistic and make it kind of awkward to deck build around, that could be tricky for a new player for sure.
Or if you're a new player and you're hey, this, it's going to cost me 10 mana to get both people out.
Yeah, which is one of my decks, which we'll talk about. Well, I'll actually touch on later in our data. But
yeah. You're oh man, I didn't have fun this game because I got one of them out, but I didn't get the other one because it was late game and I just died before I could get the other one out. I feel for a new player that might be not as much fun.
100%. And you have to... Yeah, you aren't exactly considering all these things. like your mana curve and the amount of ramp you need. I've got a Karlach Raised by Giants deck that we're going to talk about later.
Okay.
It's an 11 mana commander is what that is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like
would you recommend that to somebody new? Like, no, it's an awesome commander for someone that's experienced like you.
Yeah.
And it's very fun to play at the table, but when it's, when you're playing against it, but
sure.
For someone that's brand new, I would say maybe stay clear of that.
Exactly. Because it breaks a lot of these norms that basically what we want to accomplish here with this deck building guide is to give you like a baseline of what you need to build more or less any commander, and then understanding mana curve, things like mana curve, cost of your commander, these types of things, be able to adapt and shift. So like, for example, Karlach Raised by Giants, because it's effectively an 11 CMC commander.
Yeah.
That's the deck I have with the most amount of lands. I think I've got like 39, 40 lands in that deck. And then it's just like all ramp spells. I think I've got like 20 plus 24, 25 ramp spells, which is like a lot, because the whole bit of the deck is turboing out this 11 mana commander, essentially.
Yeah.
So I literally just need to make sure I hit all my land drops. I can play extra lands, and I can ramp into this really powerful effect. But like you said, if you're just jumping in, that's going to be really hard to do. That's going to be really tricky to because if you're just playing with, I'm fine with 35 lands, and I've got 6 mana rocks. That'll be fine for my 11 mana commander. It's like, well, probably not. You're probably never going to be able to cast.
No, never. Especially as a new person.
Yeah. So that's kind of I think that's a good way of kind of setting this up, Luke. Those are probably things you might want to stick away from. I know you mentioned here a couple good examples of things that might be more intro, beginner friendly.
Yeah, no, so some good examples though that I would recommend is, for one thing is just bread and butter creature combat. Someone like Galta, like any of the Galtas would be fine, where like their whole deal is just, hey, you play creatures and you get and you can get, you just play cool big creatures, Galta would be great for that. Another archetype that I would recommend too is actually token generation. I actually put down Kranko Mob Boss with an asterisk in that. Okay, yes, Kranko can go infinite.
Yeah,
there's all this stuff. There's all these goblin synergies around him. But also at his core, he is just, you tap him and you make more goblins. What are they? 1/1 goblins, I think.
Yeah, it's funny because this is a good example of how power level is really. It's such a subjective thing. It's hard to figure out. But Kranko could be very beginner friendly. It's just like, hey, just make as many goblins swing out. But then you've got our buddy Johnny actually has a Kranko deck, and his is just juiced up. So every time we sit down, he's like, "Are we what power level are we feeling?" Because his Kranko deck is not casual. His is hey, I could probably turn 3 win with this deck if we're looking for it. So
also Kranko's great as well as a beginner in that. I've seen deck lists for $8 for Kranko. So, right. You can put all the juice cards in there and have it be a $2,000 deck. But you can also just get bulk goblins that all have haste and are stupid, and it's just as fun and just as powerful. So I think Kranko would be a great token generation first deck. Again, yes, you can go infinite with him. You can you can juice him up and he can be competitive even, or you could just at his base level just, hey, you turn him sideways, you make more goblin tokens. And then kind of the last good example of an archetype I would follow is tribal. One of my favorite decks I have, which we'll talk about later, is I have a worm tribal deck, which is this whole, it's very fun. It's stupid. It's really fun. But I'd actually say Lathril, Blade of the Elves, is a great first beginner tribal commander in that she's she just synergizes with elves, and elves are really cheap. Elves, and again, kind of like Kranko, there are elf cards that are broken that are, $100, but also just you can go to the bulk bin and get 2-cent elves.
And I think they're actually, Lathril was a precon. So that's another good, hey, if you're not sure where to start, obviously we're going to try to help you out here with this deck building guide. But you can always start with a precon and then, make adjustments and upgrade it and do that type of thing. So Lathril's a really great example for that too.
Yeah. So, all right, Leland, you found your commander. You know what you want to build. Where do you go from there?
So there are a lot of ways you can approach a deck. Once you finally found your commander, you can start digging through the bulk bin, like you were saying. You can start looking at the cards you have from the bundle you just got for Christmas. But I think if you're looking to like really dive in and build a highly synergistic deck, resources like EDH Rec and Moxfield are a really good jumping off point because they allow you to look at the most popular cards for that commander. You get to look at other people's lists that have been curating and building this exact commander for years because people are so impassioned by commander specifically and singleton specifically. You can go to Moxfield and people who've already done the legwork and have built Lathril, and that's their pride and joy deck. Like for me, that would be Preston the Vanisher type thing, or Astor Bearer of Blades type thing, where I've been building these decks for literally years. So go check out my list and not really a plug, but like you can go and look at my Astor list and see a functional Astor deck and maybe be like, Leland's playing this goofy RMS Titanic from the Doctor Who set. That's funny. I'll throw that in my Astor deck too. Or, he just threw in this fishing pole card. That's really funny. Let's throw that into mine. I love looking at what other people are doing with their commander decks. So Moxfield is a really, really great spot for that reason. And then EDH Rec again is kind of the go-to for finding it's basically like a curation of all of the lists that are on these deck building sites like Moxfield or Architect. It takes all of those lists and shows the most popular cards amongst those lists, and then recommends other cards even beyond that are highly synergistic with the commander you're looking at. So those are kind of like the two, I'd say, starting off points.
Yeah.
And then once you've gotten this idea of cards that will work for your deck and maybe have a better understanding of what you're looking for, then you can dig real deep in Scryfall, which is there's no better resource for Magic the Gathering Online.
Yeah, definitely
than
not.
Scryfall. It's like not even close. Essentially it's a database of every single card of all time.
Yep.
And it has this really nifty search feature with their own. They've got all this, all these searching they've got a whole syntax guide for the how they have developed this basically like code for the tag system for all these cards. So like if you wanted to find Astor, for example, you can do like T : legendary creature, vehicle, O being like Oracle text. In the rules text of the card, it has vehicle in it. You can do C, red, like, you can, they're like all these, like their search system is so like, once you get the hang of it, it's just, if you think of, it's kind of hard to describe the feeling of like growing with Scryfall. Like it's a huge part of my like deck building. I don't want to say like as I've gotten better as a deck builder, like your knowledge of how to use Scryfall, literally like I can build like before with like, I love my Preston the Vanisher deck. I probably could build this exact same deck within a day now.
Yeah.
Whereas before it took me like a month of like really like looking, granted, then I looked through like every single card ever in the white color identity or whatever. But like the more you can dig deep in Scryfall and learn how to use Scryfall as a database and index for cards that work well for your commander, your deck building prowess just skyrockets. So I think Scryfall is inarguably the best resource for people who are interested in Magic as a whole, but also just for deck building. And then you use EDH Rec and Moxfield as a jumping off point, start building your deck, and then just get in the weeds with Scryfall. Is kind of my recommendation there.
Yeah, like, just to kind of like summarize that, it's, you go to Moxfield to see what other decks people have built with your commander, so you can kind of get a feel of, what types of decks people can make with the commander that you picked. And then from there, you use EDH Rec. That'll give you a list of the most popular cards seen in every deck. And then they're also categorized by like creature, instant, sorcery, so they organize it there. And then when you're done looking at those two sources, go to Scryfall and it'll allow you to search for any card parameter you're looking for. So if you want a blue card that, draws 2 cards. You can find a list of every single blue card that does that. And yeah, it also gives you prices and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
So yeah, just kind of a, Oh, another one too. Another thing too. This is for the new people out there. When I was new to Magic, there are a lot of staple cards for different colors or different archetypes and stuff like that, and that I didn't know about at the time. And so I actually got a lot of learning from looking at Draft Sim best of lists. That's a website that just has like, hey, here are the best of all the ramp cards in Magic the Gathering. Here's the best of all the mono white cards. Best commander staples. Like, they have all these just best of lists, and kind of going through those will help you if you're a true beginner and you don't know where to look. Hey, there's millions of cards out there. There's a couple thousand cards at this point in all of Magic the Gathering. Which ones do I want to pick from? Just kind of being able to isolate some of these best of, top 25 cards of whatever you're looking for. It can be helpful for new people.
Yeah, that's great advice. I've never really tapped into those lists. I'll actually just out of curiosity, I'll have to go check some of those out. I know EDH Rec, that's another feature for them. They also have like the top 100 cards used in Commander. So even outside of the specific legendary creature you're looking for, you can go look at all the top red cards, all the top green cards, all the top, artifacts, that type of thing. So, and then again, once you start building your deck, absolutely use Moxfield. I know there are a bunch of different deck building sites out there, but Moxfield is what we use, and it's for good reason. I think it's got the cleanest UI. It's got the best experience just as a whole. Deck building, just kind of vibe as a whole. I've tested other websites before, like Architect, and I just keep coming back to Moxfield. And part of that is they have Scryfall. They use the Scryfall database essentially to pool the cards, and then they also use their syntax for searching and stuff like that. So it's a great way of using your knowledge that you acquire from getting good with Scryfall, and you just apply it immediately within Moxfield. And yeah, it's the best way of visualizing your deck too. You can sort it in any which way imaginable, either by color, mana value, price. It's got this great tagging system. We're going to talk about ramp and card draw and removal, and you can go in and individually custom tag your deck and sort by, so now I can see I've got 11 card draw spells. Maybe I want to add a few more. So it's just full of all these great features. You can play test your deck as you're building it, draw sample hands. It shows your full mana curve, the tokens that are generated, the mana percentage, your mana production, to make sure that your lands, this is the best way of like making sure that the lands you put into your deck are producing the mana that you want at any given moment. And yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of the industry standard for deck building. I guess
they've done a great job. It's a great website. It's a great website. And yeah, it's funny how actually weirdly enough, the token section is like my favorite part of it, where, if you have cards that create tokens and you're like, oh man, you play a game and you're like, oh, I forgot, I gotta grab that token.
Sure.
And they just aggregate the list for you. They just know somehow.
And actually just recently this is like a funny small detail, but before, when you looked at the tokens, it just showed what tokens were created and not what cards were generating those tokens. Now you can just hover over your token. I'm looking at my Astor deck. I've got this Cat Soldier 1/1 Vigilance, and it's like, where does that come from? Well, Brimaz, King of Oreskos, that's the card that's creating this token.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just clever. And like
I love that.
Copy token is created by these two cards. So and it's a weird like thing to consider, but there's sometimes where it's like, I just don't like, this is very niche detail, but like, for example, I don't want to make this Gnome Soldier token. Like, I just don't want to maybe deal with this during a game, or like, this doesn't really fit the vibe of my deck. Like, I don't need this weird Aztec gnome in my deck. I can go and be like, it's Thousand Moon Smithy that's creating this. That's the card I need to cut, instead of, I need to go through every single, because, this is a artifact heavy deck, and it's like anything in my 99 could be creating these weird tokens. So it's nice that you can go in and see exactly where these tokens are coming from. So,
see, I didn't even know that, guys.
Yeah, it's a pretty
brand
new.
new.
It's a pretty new feature. So that's the other thing is, Moxfield, the developers they're constantly trying to improve this already good product, and they're engaged with their audience on Twitter. Like they're constantly tweeting like, hey, what are some things you'd like to see? So yeah, I'm just a big fan of big Moxfield guy.
I love that.
It's how I spend a lot of my free time is building goofy decks in Moxfield. So
I love it. Heck yeah.
and then I think kind of another key point of building your deck is understanding your budget. And I think this
is big.
This kind of it's if you're just getting into building commander decks, it's something that you might not consider being a big factor. But I think like using Moxfield as your deck building site. There are a lot of other deck building sites that also show price and this kind of thing, but I just love that Moxfield shows the TCG player average price. Again, I would definitely recommend swapping. I think the standard price setting is set to like Card Kingdom, which their pricing is really it's not. Card Kingdom's pricing is set to like loosely set around TCG players' pricing.
Loosely.
And it's always more expensive.
Always more expensive.
So if you want to like really know how much your deck is worth, because there are cards that are like pennies, like 2-3 cents, that are, I think the minimum value is like 35 cents at Card Kingdom. Like you can't buy cards.
Yeah, you can't buy one cheaper
pennies.
than that.
And then same thing for top dollar cards. Like Esper Sentinels are probably, I don't know. Again, I don't know, but like if you go to card, actually let's just do it for for sake of the show. I'm going to go to Card Kingdom, Esper Sentinel, and the other thing is availability too, right? So yeah, $30 Esper Sentinel from Card Kingdom. Cool.
Okay.
Go to TCG Player, it's $20.
Yeah.
So 22. Sorry. So $22 is the average price of Esper Sentinel. This printing of Esper Sentinel. In fact, I'm just going to pop over to TCG Player just to verify.
Yeah, I'm sure you could find one even cheaper. You get a damaged copy.
So, and again, that's not, here you can get
16,
14. You can get a $14 Esper Sentinel. If you're buying through Card Kingdom, it's $30. So again, I just like that Moxfield shows the true pricing of your decks as you're building them, which I think is something that you need to really be aware of, because it's I don't know. You start with a budget, understand that you're probably going to spend a little bit more than that.
Yep.
But having a baseline will really help you curate your list as you go. Because like, let's say you don't want to spend $30 on an Esper Sentinel. Well, you can hit up EDH Rec. This is Luke's point actually here, is that there's always a cheaper version of every card.
Yeah. Just my 2 cents is that you will always be able to find a cheaper version of the card you're looking for. So like an example is like Exquisite Blood. That's like it's like a $30 card.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's also another card that does the exact same thing. It's 1 more mana, and it's called Tainted Remedy, and it's $3. So
okay,
same exact thing. It just costs 1 mana extra, and it's a tenth of the price. So just putting this out there, there's always a cheaper version of whatever you're looking for. It might cost you a little bit more mana.
Mm-hmm.
It might, it might be a little bit more expensive to cast, but it'll be way cheaper on your wallet. So just something to think about.
Right. And I think that's kind of part of the point that we've been dancing around a bit here with this budget discussion is there are quote unquote strictly better versions. There are quote unquote strictly worse versions of certain cards. And when it comes down to it, like, this is a casual format. You can play decks very similarly for a much smaller price point.
Yeah.
It'll just be a little bit slower. And that's like when it comes down to it, if you're spending less money on your deck, it's not going to be as efficient. Efficiency is the key word here. And that's okay. And I think this kind of leans into my next point is the power level conversation.
Yes.
That there's this whole meme in Commander of like, I think my deck is about a 7. Like determining your deck's true power level is it feels like a near impossible task, especially on this like arbitrary 1 to 10 scale. I know we discussed when the Commander bans and the rules committee dissolved the drama there. I know Gavin talked about this new system that they're going to eventually apply, this 1 to 4 system for the power level of a certain card, and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, we'll see.
But I think at its core, Commander regardless of the power level of your deck, abides by very similar principles when it comes to deck building. Generally speaking, like you can build a janky, low power deck and right next to it with the same commander, really juice it up, high synergy, high power level. They'll run very similar amounts of card advantage, removal, ramp, all these things, and they'll play similarly. Again, the keyword is efficiency. So you want to juice your deck up, spend hundreds of dollars on it, that's fine. It'll probably win more games. However, you can do the same thing as long as you're hitting these essentials that we're going to discuss here. Your deck will play very similarly.
Yes. Also, in that same, in the same vein, as power level goes, having a more powerful deck doesn't mean that you're having more fun. That's another thing to bring up as well. Yep. You can. Yeah, just something to think about. Power level doesn't equal fun. I don't have any. None of my decks are very powerful. Mm-hmm. They would get smoked in any other table that wasn't us playing.
Sure.
But there's it's just as much fun. It's just playing a deck that is not very good is still fun.
Yeah. And it's same thing with budget. I know. Like I said, my Fumiko deck, I tried to restrict myself to $100.
Yeah.
I've got this Siani and Elegeth Sphinxes, Mono Blue Sphinxes deck that's a $50 budget deck that is super fun to play. Like, you don't have to spend a ton of money. If you're just getting started in Commander and you're intimidated by, the lists you see on Moxfield, oh, my Astor deck is $800. There's no way, like, I guess I can't play Astor. No. I could rebuild Astor for $50 right now and still have just as much fun.
Yeah.
I think that's where, like, this misconception that power level is so, I don't know, like it has such an effect on the gameplay experience.
Yeah.
What it really is the bigger picture of how to build a commander deck is so vital to your gameplay experience, and it doesn't have to do with how much money you're spending on your deck.
No, exactly.
It's kind of the bottom line of the thesis of our deck building guide, more or less, is at its core, like, you need to know the essentials that you need in your deck, and we ran all the analytics. We looked at the data. We dived in. We looked at our decks that we've built over the last several years. We looked at every precon from 2023, every precon from 2024 to kind of see what WotC thinks of and what's going through their brains when they're building a commander deck.
Yeah.
And their precons, time and time again, especially within this last year, you look at some of these precons, the power level, quote unquote, is pretty high. Like these precons are getting better and better, and that's obviously a lot of that has to do with the power level of the cards. But you can see these patterns with the amount of ramp, the amount of lands, and we just really wanted to dive into that to see if we could come up with somewhat of a blueprint, somewhat of a kind of just rule of thumbs for all these different things, and base them on literal data that we see from WotC, and then just see how they compare to the decks that we've built. Again, I've spent the last several years just building commander decks, so it's been a really, really fun and honestly satisfying process of doing all this research with you, because I feel like I've gotten better as a deck builder just from doing all this research and looking at all these decks.
No, me too.
And now it's affirmed a lot of my beliefs as a commander deck builder.
Yeah, we got the stats to prove.
But now we've got now we've got the stats. So
we're coming with receipts, boys.
Yeah. So basically this just comes down to deck building rules of thumb is kind of what we're trying to do here.
Yep.
So before we kind of dive into the real analysis is just, we're really just trying to come up with a general template to follow when you're building your commander deck, so that it has everything you need to successfully play a game of commander. And I think that's a pretty key too, is successfully play.
Yep.
Regardless of whether you win or lose, being able to sit at a table and like have your deck do the thing is the most important part. And so these guidelines are going to evaluate the amount of these essential ingredients you need for each of your commander decks, including how you make sure you hit your land drops, ramp into your impactful spells, remove threats at the table, protect your own board, and then wipe the board when you need to.
Yeah.
And these things help you ensure that you never feel completely useless when sitting at a commander table. There's nothing worse than missing your land drop early in the game, or not being able to ramp into your commander, or someone just starts steamrolling and you don't have the removal you need. So these just allow you to play the game and have fun every time you sit down and play the game.
Yeah.
And also actively help you win the game, which of course we all love winning.
Yeah.
So these are just like the meat and potatoes essentials that you need for deck building.
Yeah, and just keep note that, like, when we go into the analysis here, deck building is not an exact science. Think of it as like baking or like cooking, where it's like, it's more of a trial and error, and at the end of the day, it's a feeling more than like an actual outcome. And so just kind of keep that in mind. These ratios that we talk about, and our recommendations here are, we've done a lot of research. We got the receipts. So I think we're very, very close, if not on the target. But if you follow our rules strictly and it doesn't feel right to you, feel free to switch some things out. Play around with the ratios.
Yeah, and it's actually pretty funny. We're gonna get into the general deck composition soon, but we actually don't. Our gold standards that we're setting, there are certain categories that we aren't even following our own rules.
Oh yeah, no,
so again,
do as we say, not as we do. Okay.
Yeah, like Luke said, like at its core, play to your own interests, and like if you like ramping more than anything else, play a few extra ramp spells, or like if you love drawing cards, play like 20, 25 card draw effects. I think that's actually the more the merrier when it comes to card draw effects or card advantage effects. So yeah, again, these are just, you'd like to hit these numbers for each of these essentials, but feel free to either add more, go a bit shy. I know for me, I think we'll get into this, but I think our like recommended land count is like 36 to 38. And I think I'm like averaging like 35. So like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, and a little bit of that's impacted by my CDH decks being in the list, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah, we'll get into it.
But yeah, just trust your gut when it comes to deck building. And more importantly than anything else is when you sit down and play and you start to notice patterns with how your deck performs.
Yeah.
Obviously, if it's like you sit down with one game and you missed your land drops, like that doesn't mean that that's going to happen every time. Like luck is involved in singleton. Like sometimes all your ramp spells might just be at the bottom of your deck, and that's just how shuffling went for you. You know what I mean? So get a bunch of games in, get some like data of your own on your own deck to look at. And I think that's the best way of approaching editing your deck too. So
agreed.
But yeah, all this is to lead to our analysis of every Commander precon from 2023 and 2024. And the reason why I decided that I wanted it to be 2 years was for double the amount of data.
Yep.
Just because that's a huge part of doing any research like this, any big project like this, is the more data, the merrier. It's going to show patterns way more accurately. It's going to show how WotC has handled building decks over the past 2 years specifically, because I think this has kind of been the sweet spot for precon growth and precon strength. Obviously, we've had a lot of great precons, I'd say from like 2020 onward, but 2023, 2024, we've seen a lot of really, really strong decks.
I feel like they hit their stride.
They definitely have hit their stride, and it also shows part of the reason it being more recent than not recent is I want to keep this on trend with what they've been doing lately, looking towards 2025, because like I said, the decks play really well, and it also is going to show how Commander as a whole is going to feel when you sit down at a table with anyone. We can kind of like, whether you like precons or you play with precons or not, they know what they're doing. I trust Gavin's judgment and the design team's judgment. I have a bunch of precons of my own that I play with. I played with one the other night at Luke's. I played Fumiko, and then I played the Thassa Modern Horizons 3 Lurgoyf deck, and it was awesome. I've got the Zinnia Bloomborough precon. I know Luke had the Energy precon for a bit there.
The Energy
did
one
not
sucks. But I have the Miss Doubtfire like bunny deck from Bloomborough. That one rocks.
Bumbleflower or whatever. I've got the
it's a Doubtfire.
I've got the original AC precon. I've got the Kaldheim Spear precon. Like, I'm a precon guy, and they're good, and they play at any commander table.
Yeah, definitely.
Again, the distinction being casual commander, just generally, not CEDH. We're not talking competitive here. We'll do, we'll probably have a CEDH
we'll probably have an
here
episode.
because I do love CEDH. I've got Krakashima as like my main CEDH deck. I just built, I had a mono blue Ambassador Laquatus deck that I turned into a CDH James Wandering Dad because, I became a dad. So I've got this mono blue CDH Fallout deck just because, I love playing at high power, but again, casual commanders are completely different. It feels like a completely different format, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
And the pacing of the game and just the strategies involved with casual commander versus CDH. So yeah, we're going to do an in-depth look at every single precon 2023 to 2024. We split our research up. I essentially developed a spreadsheet breaking down each commander precon from 2023 and 2024 using the official Wizards of the Coast lists on Moxfield, and then went in and there's a really nifty feature that I feel like is pretty undervalued, is the highlighter feature in Moxfield. You can go in and use the Scryfall Advanced Search to look up functions. So like function ramp. I'm in my Astor deck, and it shows I've got 13 ramp spells. It shows every single spell that ramps. Or I could do function card advantage. I've got 17 card advantage engines in this deck. So I went through every single precon and ran all these functions for these essentials.
That's awesome.
And broke it down and showed all the numbers. And then we got averages for 2023, 2024, and our personal decks. So it's just been really interesting seeing how Wizards has valued these different essentials. And by essentials, I mean lands, ramp, card advantage, single target, or just targeted removal, and then board wipes. Those are kind of our 5 key categories or essentials for your commander deck.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of my part. And then Luke went in and did his thing with scripts and number crunching because that's what he does for a living.
Yep. Yeah, we'll get more into it. But just I took, basically created a database of every card from the last 2 years that were in precons. And then wrote a bunch of scripts to, get some analytics from everything. And, we'll talk about that more later.
Yeah, and before we dive in here, I want to note that all of the data is going to be available to you guys. So I think right away it's just going to be a Google Drive folder with just the raw data, my spreadsheets, Luke's document with the tables and everything, and then a link to the scripts. I think he's got them on GitHub. So we're just gonna kind of show our hand with how we went about all our research, and so you guys can then also look at and evaluate and dive even deeper than we did, hopefully. So we definitely wanted to get these resources out to you guys as well.
Yeah, and like if this doesn't smell right to you guys, like maybe our math was off or whatever, feel free. Hey, everything's publicly available for you guys, so feel free to dig into, the numbers yourself and let us know if we got anything wrong because, we're human at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the whole bit of research, and it's why we want to get more people involved is we ran all these numbers. We spent hours and hours and hours doing this, but maybe there's some like data points that would be useful. One of which I was thinking for blue decks, counter spells. Like, yes, single target removal is one thing. That's not like a lot of counter spells aren't really even considered. So that's a whole other category that could be added. Or you could go in and manually count the like quote unquote win cons of the deck and have all those data points shown. So we for sure wanted to tackle lands, ramp, card advantage, removal, and board wipes as the essentials for my part of the research, because those are what make your deck like function, period, at a commander table. So that's what I really wanted to see and analyze. And then Luke's got a lot of really good points of interest regarding like the most common removal spell or like the most common color combination for a commander or legendary creature, or what's the most common casting cost, those types of data points that Luke kind of went in and did all that detail-oriented research. So hopefully we've got, a good, span of data points to look at for you guys. And let us know if you'd like to see anything added to the next one we do. I think we definitely, maybe a couple years down the road, we revisit, we do 2025 and 2026 precon analysis or something like that. Could be cool. Or even we just do 2025, or this can be an ever evolving type of project. But we really wanted just to have a definitive commander deck building guide for 2025. And this is the research we did to come up with the numbers we're about to discuss. So
no, exactly. So yeah, take it away.
Cool. So yeah, let's dive into my review of precon deck composition. Essentially, like I mentioned, I looked at each individual commander precon deck list, all 52 from 2023 to 2024, and used Scryfall's search functionality within Moxfield's highlighter tool within each WotC official precon list as shown. So that was kind of my process. And all that data is shown in my spreadsheet. So feel free to pull that up. I've got, again, the link is in the episode description. You can kind of follow along as we go here. So in order for your commander deck to accomplish the game plan you've set for it, whether you're building around a commander you like, or like I said, you come up with your own creative strategy for winning the game of commander with a legendary creature, your deck needs to be able to function at a basic level. Let's call these the essentials of deck composition. The things every deck needs to be able to accomplish in order to play a game of commander. Yeah. These essentials, like I said, include the 5 key categories being lands, ramp, card advantage, single target removal, and board wipes. How many cards you need for each of these categories is largely determined by the commander you pick, and then the projected mana curve for that commander. However, there are some rules of thumb to kind of work from when building your deck. And this is where a precon analysis really comes in and shines. Yeah. Because we get to see Wizards of the Coast, how they approach adding lands to a deck, how they approach how much card advantage, X commander needs, these types of things. So they give a really good picture of what, just in general, what a commander deck needs to be able to thrive at a table. So, and then, like I said, we also ran the numbers on all of our decks too, which was really fun because
seeing how we stack up against Wizards.
Yeah. And obviously it's cool to see my own data, but I watch you play your decks at the commander table. It was cool to like go into Moxfield and actually like analyze all of your decks and see how,
Also kind of scary too. It's like, oh man, I'm really bad at this.
I know, right?
Oh, wow.
You'd be surprised. I think spoiler alert, we both do.
We do okay?
We both do pretty good,
okay,
I think.
Okay. Okay. I like it.
But yeah. So before, we really dive into each of these individual categories, I wanted to do a quick rundown on the average numbers for these essentials just by WotC, just so boom, here we go. Here are all the averages for these essentials. So you guys right up top have a good idea of a gold standard starting point for a commander deck building template. Okay, so Wizards of the Coast averages for commander deck essentials from all 52 precons in 2023 and 2024. Lands, 37 to 38. Ramp, 15 to 16 instances of ramp. Card advantage, 19. Removal, 9. Board wipes, 3 to 4.
Okay, how do you feel about that?
Pretty good. Yeah, I think this is probably a good point just to have like a gut reaction, because I think this is the first time we're together. Like, we've obviously been working on this data together for a long time, but same room looking at these numbers. Yeah. Gut reaction. They feel good. These these feel like pretty on the money to me.
Really?
I think the one thing that personally I feel like the removal might be like 1 or 2 cards low.
Wait, seriously? Okay, because my gut reaction to hearing that is way too much ramp and that's way too much removal.
That's pretty funny.
My gut was like 15 ramp spells.
Well,
that's wild.
I think you're going to be surprised by your own decks.
Okay.
Then, because ramp,
like, we're getting real loose with the word ramp.
Yeah. Well, and we're going to dive into each individual category, but yeah, ramp goes far beyond your mana dorks, your mana rocks, and your rampant growths. Yeah.
Okay.
So there are a lot of other effects like that will ramp you, but we'll get into the weeds with the ramp in a bit. But so that's interesting. So you think it's too much, maybe too much ramp,
way too much removal,
and you also think too much removal.
I'm more of like, in my head, I haven't seen my numbers, but like when I think of removal, I think of like 3 or 4.
Okay.
So having 9, that's nutty.
Yeah. See, I'd like to see from Wizards. I'd like to see this maybe be 10.
Okay.
or 11.
Okay.
My personal numbers are probably right around 9, I think, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
But I think, and again, we're going to get into the weeds with each of these categories. So before I get on a tangent about removal, because we're going to get into
Yeah,
removal.
we'll get there. We'll get there.
But we'll just take it from the top. We'll start with lands here.
Let's start with lands.
Lands are the core to any Magic the Gathering deck, regardless of format. Without them, you cannot even play the game. So building an effective land base it's just one of the best feelings. I know we talked about this, I think, in a couple episodes, or I think we talked about this an episode or two ago about how when I start a commander deck, the first thing I do is lands. And you were like, what are you talking about?
Nope, I definitely don't start there.
But I just love the, like, at their base, like, yes, you can get away with, I'm just going to throw 39 basic forests in this deck and call it a day. And that's fine. Like, that's totally reasonable. I actually love doing that. Like, my Fumiko is like pretty much just all basic mountains. For simplicity's sake, I think that's like clean design, especially if you're in monocolor. Like, that's fine. But the second I'm in 2-color, I'm just like, let's go crazy with this. Like, let's really figure out how to create an optimal and honestly just fun land base. Because do not like overlook how important lands are to like your gameplay experience. If you're not hitting your land drops, if you're not hitting the colors you need, like if your fixing is really poor, these types of things can lead to really dull and ineffective games where you're just sitting there like, oh, tap land, oh, colorless land. Well, can't play my blue spell because it's a white-red tap land and a color, like these types of things, right? Even cards as simple as the cycling lands. For Fumiko, I've got Smoldering Crater and Forgotten Cave. Seem really boring.
Yeah.
Because it comes in taps for red, and you can cycle it or whatever. But you can cycle them. You know, you can draw, if it's late game and you don't need the extra land, hey, let's just cycle this land. That would have been useful early game. Allows me to hit my land drops and actively play the game and stay on curve. But in late game, if I'm already on curve, I've got the lands I need.
Yeah, you don't need it.
I can just, swap it out for another card. So even things as simple as that, lands help you keep on curve. They can potentially be cycled to draw you cards, play into your active game plan with non-mana related activated abilities. And I'm feeling a lands episode on the horizon.
Yeah, we'll do a lands episode. There's a lot there. But yeah, when I make a deck, I always start with artifacts, which is
fair.
Probably not normal, but here we are.
No, you're an artifact guy, so
it's true.
The resurgence of Psy is inbound, so I'm stoked for that. So yeah, WotC's precons on average have 37 to 38 lands. A notable outlier was the Tricky Terrain deck, Omo Queen of Vesuva. I think that was Modern Horizons 3. Has 44 lands in it, the most out of any precon by like a mile.
That's so many.
And the reason it is because Omo is a lands matter deck.
Oh, okay.
So it makes sense for them to have a lot of lands, but that's so many lands. Like,
that's a lot.
I will say, to me, cap for lands is 40. I think a lot. Some people say like 42, 43. I think 44, you run the risk of just flooding, and that always feels bad.
That's no
flooding
fun.
Just always feels bad. And I think we're at a point with Commander where you do not need to be running 44 lands. Like there's spells are so efficient, and there are ways of staying on curve while, obviously missing a land drop is really bad, and we don't want that. But I think you can reliably hit your lands in a Lands Matters deck at like 38 or 40. Yeah. Like I have a Titania lands deck that I think is, let's see here, let's take a peek. I'm sitting at 38 lands. In my literal mono green lands deck, I'm running 38. Like 40, I can't even imagine 44 lands with that deck.
So many.
And it all has to do with mana curve. Again, Titania is a 5 mana, commander, but I'm also running like 31 ramp effects in that deck. So it's like you have to take into consideration a lot of things. And for a precon, 44 feels a little high, but it is lands matter deck, so it's probably fine. You know what I mean? Yeah. So now let's talk about our average land. So my average land count, like I said, is 35, which it's really being swayed by my 2 CEDH decks, because I wanted to include those in the data, even though, like I said, we're focusing on casual. I wanted them represented here because I wanted to look at all of my commander decks,
Yeah.
and they are commander decks at their core.
It
right?
counts.
It counts. And so, like I said, my Krark deck has 29 lands, and my James Wandering Dad deck has 30 lands. So definitely not viable for like a casual game. But I mean, they could be. I could sit down with these decks and play them at a casual table, but it's because I'm running all of the fast mana. Right? I've got cards that essentially count as like a land, more or less. Right? Like I've got my Mox Opal. I've got my even stuff like Mana Vault, those types of. It's an artifact deck, and like CDH, you're typically running fast mana to try to turbo out a win turn 2, turn 3 instead of sticking around super late game. So
yeah, that makes sense.
And a lot of it is like mulligans. Again, we'll talk about CDH another day. But so my land count is 35. It'd probably be closer to like 36 if we exclude my CDH decks.
Yeah, that's
essentially.
fair.
My highest land count, on the other hand, is 39, and that's for my Karlach, Fury of Avernus, and Raised by Giants background. So that's the commander, like you were saying, with choose a background. And I love that deck so much. But the commander itself costs 11, because Karlach, I think, costs 5. Raised by Giants, I think, costs 6.
Yeah.
So in that deck, I need a lot of lands. I'm running 39 with 24 ramp spells, which it's just, I need that acceleration, right? So
yeah.
And then let's talk about your land count. You're averaging 37, so you're right on.
It's pretty good.
Right on standard, I think.
Pretty good. Yeah, I do have one landfall deck, which is my green trees deck, which is 41 lands. But that's 41 lands. I could probably even get rid of a land or two in that deck. Another thing too is that my average is probably higher because I play a lot of like mono green, which is a lot of big boys, which all are pricey. My worms deck, I think I have like an 11 mana worm in there. So, your boy needs some more trees in the deck to be able to play that. So, makes sense.
Yeah. And again, we're talking about this flexibility, right? Where if your commander does your commander cost 4 or more, err on the side of caution, because missing a land drop could you're taking a turn or two off, and that's not good. So 38 to 40 lands, I think, is fine if your mana curve says so, if your commander says so. Definitely err on the side of caution. But if you have something like my Wilson Refined Grizzly Noble Heritage deck, where I've basically got 2 mana commanders, and it's Enchantress, so I just run all of the best 1 mana and 2 mana auras to put on Wilson. My curve is just so tremendously low that I run only 34 lands in that deck. And I've never had a problem with lands, because Enchantress is highly cantrip focused, like cantripping off of your enchantments. So you're drawing into your lands anyways. And hey, if you miss a land, it's not the end of the world, because I really only ever need like 2 lands to just get the ball rolling. So
yeah,
if there is like a flexibility, like we've been saying, with mana curve and the cost of your commander to the amount of lands you put in your deck. So what is the Wild Dogs commander deck building recommendation for lands? 36 to 38.
Yeah.
So
that sounds right to me.
It's basically, so WotC's is 37 to 38. I'm going to give us some leeway and say 36 to 38 because, well, my curve is a little bit lower, but like I mentioned before, I think 37 lands is perfect. You're the gold standard, Luke, I think. I've just personally found, and again, do not cut a bunch of lands, but 36 for me has been working out as far as my mana curves generally go, how I generally approach my deck building, right? So I'm comfortable generally starting at 36 and maybe plus or minusing 1 or 2 from there. So yeah, I think 36 to 38 is a really, really solid range. And then if you look at, I thought this was an interesting fact, if you look at the last 4 commander precon cycles of Outlaws of Thunder Junction Commander, Modern Horizons 3 Commander, Bloomburrow Commander, and Duskborn Commander, 11 out of 16 of the last precons have 38 lands. So Wizards is like really, like, look at these. There's like this stretch right here where it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like 8 in a row.
That's incredible.
From Modern Horizons to Duskborn, it's just boom. We're just 38 is so that's something that, like,
Hey,
pay
that
attention
works.
to. So yeah, we're going to say 36 of 38 as like a good starting point for your land base. Now, let's get into ramp. So what is ramp? Ramp basically means any card that can directly increase the amount of mana you have access to in a given moment. Some classic examples are Soul Ring, Rampant Growth, Myriad Landscape, Solemn Simulacrum, and Birds of Paradise. I kind of wanted to represent a lot of the core types. So we've got your Mana Rock, your Land Tutor, your land. There are actual lands that can accelerate you. There's creatures like Burnished Heart, Solemn Simulacrum, and then your classic mana dorks like Llanowar Elves, Birds of Paradise.
Yeah. Green.
The best ramp color.
The greatest color.
Luke, I was going to say, Luke might say just the best color, period.
Just colors in general, the best.
So WotC's precons show an average of 15 instances of ramp per deck in 2023 and 16 instances of ramp in 2024. Some notable outliers, we've only got 9 instances of ramp in the Revenant Recon, which is Mirko, Obsessive Theorist. And then Animated Army, which is Bello, Bard of the Brambles in Bloomburrow, was the high at 29 instances of ramp.
So many.
So Mirko, it makes sense because it's got the staple mana rocks. And I think this is probably what you're thinking of, Luke, is like, Mirko, it's literally just your Felwar Stone, your Soul Ring, your Arcane Signet, your Talisman, your Signet, and like that's it.
Yeah.
And like that's a very standard approach. And I think that's a fair approach when you're starting with Commander. It's just like, hey, let's hit like 8 or 9 mana rocks and call it a day on ramp. And I think that's like,
yeah,
when you're starting to build decks, like
that works.
that's fair. And it gets the job done. I think it's fine in that deck.
And I'm still in that. I still do that, listeners.
Sure.
I have not moved past that phase.
Sure. So what might surprise you is like, so after you start with those mana rocks, there are like incidental instances of ramp that like you might not consider, like a Myriad Landscape, right? Where it comes in tapped, untaps, you tap it for colors, but it also has like for 2 and tap, you can sack it to go get 2 lands. So it's like a land that can also ramp you.
Yeah.
So there's some incidental things like that, or your Goblin Anarchomancer, which is like something that cost reduces, right? So there are like some like less standard instances of ramp that find their way like kind of sneakily into your deck.
Yeah, they get in there.
So I think the ramp average is high. It is that 15 to 16 that Wizards is showing, because you have these staple mana rocks. You've got these staples, but then you also have those incidental ramp effects too. The reason why Bello has 29 instances of ramp is because his whole thing is trying to animate your artifacts and enchantments that cost 4 or more. So his curve is like huge.
Yeah,
like you look at the mana curve of that precon, it's just like, oh, well, yeah, you need 29 instances of ramp because your deck is literally half ramp and then half just extremely powerful artifacts and enchantments.
Makes sense.
My brother Andy has this precon and it's so cool. It's so cool to watch pop off. Big fan of Bello.
That's awesome.
So my ramp average is 15 per deck. My lowest is my Talion, the Kindly Lord deck, with only 8 ramp spells.
Okay.
This is because Talion is it's a card draw deck, so I can cantrip into. Basically, my mana is almost never not on curve in this deck, and I just felt like I'm playing a lot of cantrips. I'm playing a lot of 1 and 2 mana, either control or cantrippy spells, like your Ponders, your Preordains, that type of thing, because I've got a lot of effects that care about drawing multiple cards a turn. So I just felt like I didn't need a ton of ramp in that deck. My highest, like I mentioned before, is my Titania Protector of Argoth deck with 31 instances of ramp, which seems crazy,
That's
but
so many.
It's a lands combo. It's a landfall deck with a 5 CMC commander and a pretty high mana curve at that. So it just needs all of the lands. It needs all of the ramp. So I'm pretty happy with where it's at, even though that number seems just astronomical.
Hey, it works. You know, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. How about you, Luke? What's your ramp average?
So yeah, my ramp average is it's 17.
That's higher than you were probably expecting,
Yeah,
right?
higher than I thought. Because yeah, when you said ramp originally, I thought you meant like how many cultivates do I have in my deck?
Mhm.
You know, how many rampant growths? Not necessarily like, you know, the in between.
Yeah. I mean, it's at its core, a lot of those like ramp spells are the mana rocks, the cultivates, the rampant growths. It's just sometimes you miss because there's so many different categories, you just miss the like big picture of them, right?
Yeah. No, definitely. And yeah, and like, like my lowest is Gearson Starn, which makes sense. That's an Is It deck that's all about basically, it's all like 1 and 2 drop instants and sorceries to, kind of trigger his 1 damage ability. So makes sense. And then yeah, my highest is Greensleeves. I think Greensleeves is really gonna mess up my average because it's a landfall deck that
Sure.
sucks. So, but
Well, I think even just taking out Greensleeves,
I'm still pretty high.
Yeah, you've got Yorvo's got 17, Zabaz has 14, the Baru has 21.
Yeah,
So you're I think
sense.
yeah, 17 per deck average seems pretty solid.
Not bad.
So
What do we recommend?
Our Wild Dogs recommendation for ramp is 14 to 16. We basically agree with what Wizards is doing.
Yeah.
Again, ramp is essential, and you should have a lot of it in your decks. I think previously, yeah, the idea of just run 8, 9 mana rocks and call it a day was like fine. But we just have so many, like a lot of the most explosive plays in Commander are at the like 4 CMC plus mana range that if, again, you want to play on curve and sometimes you want to accelerate beyond your curve to have really explosive plays. So, 14 to 16 ramp effects in your deck just feels solid. You know what I mean? So 14 to 16.
Yeah, checks out to me.
Now let's talk about card advantage. Now I want
Gosh.
to I want to preface this because I feel like card advantage can be misunderstood, especially by new players, because the term card draw, like just drawing cards, it's a mechanic. Like drawing from your library it's a part of card advantage, but card advantage goes so far beyond it. Much like how I use the analogy, a square is a rhombus, but a rhombus isn't always a square. You know?
Okay. I like it.
Card draw is part of card advantage, but card advantage isn't exclusively drawing cards from your library, right?
Yeah.
Card advantage just means increasing the amount of playable cards to you at any given time, which includes effects beyond just drawing cards, like playing cards from exile, like Lelia is a good example of that, or even off your library, like Oracle of Moldiah.
Yeah.
Returning cards from your graveyard to your hand, or even straight to play, like Eternal Witness. Eternal Witness ETBs bounces something from you get to pick something from your graveyard, put it back in your hand. You got cycling, you got exploring, you got all these like new effects that just increase the amount of cards that you can play at a given time. But there are some effects that are, I think, tricky for beginner players to like really grasp. Like looting or rummaging is not always going to be card advantage for you. And in a lot of cases, it's going to be card disadvantage. So Faithless Looting, Frantic Search on their face look good because it says draw 2 cards and then discard 2 cards. Well, that's fine. I drew 2 cards. So I've got card advantage. I draw 2 cards. But okay, guess what? You had to cast the Faithless Looting from your hand. So that's 1 card from your hand leaving your hand. You draw 2 cards and then you put 2 cards into your graveyard. If you
net negative.
You're net negative. It's card disadvantage if you aren't using your graveyard. Same thing with Frantic Search. Frantic Search is a little bit more complicated because it untaps your land. It can be a combo piece in some decks, but it's also card disadvantage. It's card selection. It's not card advantage. You don't break parity with the amount of cards you have access to with these effects. In the right decks, they can be, but most of the time, if you're not considering these instances, they will just be straight up card disadvantage to you, despite having that card selection. I preface this all to say, just be aware that some effects can be misleading in terms of card advantage, but the bottom line is drawing cards is good. Even your Faithless Looting, it feels good to just draw cards off the top of your library. Like it isn't the end of the world to like cast a Faithless Looting and go down a card. It gives you get to look through 2 extra cards from your deck, right? All this being said, just the more the merrier when it comes to card advantage and draw effects. But
yeah, this is actually a recent like revelation I'm having in deck building where I've never prioritized card advantage.
Yeah.
And now I am, and it's making games way more fun to play because I have more chances to find stuff that I need in that given moment because I'm digging through my deck more often.
And you actually hit the nail on the head. My closing
Oh, sorry if I beat you to the punch there.
No, this is exactly what why we're talking about this, right? Is Magic is more fun to play with or Magic is more fun with more cards to play, plain and simple.
Yep.
And if you don't fully invest in your card drawing spells because they seem too like basic, or they seem like effects that like, oh, I've got a few of these card draw effects, I'll be fine throughout the game. I've got like 5 or 6 card draw spells. That should be good enough. There's no worse feeling than just going into top deck mode.
Yeah, it's awful.
You're literally just sitting there, land, put a land into play. Well,
rolling the dice. Hopefully this is what I need in this exact moment.
If you're sitting, and that's like, sometimes that just happens, right? But you need to set yourself up to have a hand to play at any given moment. So, and WotC precons average 19 instances of card advantage per deck in both 2023 and 2024.
Okay.
I think they're killing it. I think we'll get into this. I think 19 is like strong. It feels like a very strong range or strong place to be with the amount of instances of card advantage in your deck. Because it really is just, you literally can't play the game of Magic if you're just top decking lands, or you're top decking a counter spell, or you're top decking like all these other pieces that we're talking about. All these other essentials hinge around you having a hand of cards. So again, refilling your hand at the end or during someone else's turn is so important to having a good time.
Agreed.
And winning.
And winning.
Yeah. So like I said, precons average 19 instances of card advantage per deck. Some notable outliers are the Planeswalker Party precon with Commodore Guff at the helm, which only had 10 instances of card advantage. However, Guff himself is a card draw engine at just 4 CMC.
Yeah.
And it does, I think his effect hinges around the amount of planeswalkers you have or something like that. But if you have a card advantage spell in the command zone, I think you can cut back maybe a little bit on just card advantage throughout your deck. Like, I think that's fine. I do think 10 is probably kind of low. Like, I could see if you cast your commander early, gets removed, you can't cast him again for a while.
Yeah.
If you're relying on your commander to draw cards, that isn't a great place to be. But in stuff like Commodore Guff or my Italian deck, for example, if you have a card advantage spell in the command zone, that feels really good.
Yeah.
You're going to be drawing cards. You're going to be drawing cards. So just got to get to that 4 mana cost or whatever your commander cost. You just got to get there. But again, you definitely you don't want to cut card advantage from your deck.
Yeah.
The highest amount of card advantage in a precon was seen in Deep Clue Sea, the Morska Undersea Sleuth deck.
I hate that name.
Morska?
No, Clue Sea.
The pun. Well, and that's why. So it's Clue. So it's a card draw deck.
Yeah.
And I think Morska cares about drawing 2 cards per turn.
I hate it.
So, and he makes clues and stuff like that. So
gross.
So it makes sense that he would have 34 card draw things, because there are a lot of effects in that deck that care about you drawing multiple cards per turn. My average card advantage per deck is currently 17, which I think I'm pretty happy with. I feel like I'm very rarely in top deck mode when I play Commander, so I'm currently pretty happy with my average being 17. My Feldegriff Group Hug deck leads the pack with 27 instances of card advantage. It's Group Hug. We're all supposed to be just drawing tons and tons of cards, so that's kind of the whole bit of that deck. My least amount is my Old Border Joven deck with only 11 instances, and that's mostly because I'm running mono red with only Old Border cards. So it's literally like the most you can limit the pool of card advantage cards you possibly could, because red is already
bad.
Red's probably the worst of the colors for card draw,
which we'll get to.
We'll get to. Red is not great for card draw. So you take an already poor pool of cards for card advantage and you cut out all new border cards from it. So it's just like I'm running like Jaloom Tome and stuff like that, and that's considered powerful in my Joven deck. So
gotta love it.
My Joven deck is bad, but I love it because it's just I play all my goofy, silly Old Border red cards in it, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that goes back to what Luke was saying earlier with pick a commander that just speaks to you, and Joven in some weird way speaks to me. He's just this goofy guy. I got him signed by old Doug Schuler at MagicCon this year, so. Yeah, I love Joven, even though that deck it's bad. It's a bad deck, let's be honest. I still love playing it though.
But he's your bad deck.
Exactly. Luke's average card advantage was 15. How you feel? I think your lowest is your Brian Stout Arm deck with 11.
Yeah. Which is kind of surprising to me because that deck has a lot of like low mana sorceries and instants. So you'd think that I would I thought I had more card advantage in there. You know, I thought it was and it's also blue, so I thought it would be more like more brainstorms.
I think you're thinking of your Gearson. Brian Stout Arm is the
I wasn't
Boros
thinking.
one.
Yeah, sorry guys, I wasn't thinking. Sorry, I saw Gearson.
Sure.
Spoiler alert, he's my highest. So I was like, oh, that's kind of surprising that he's my lowest.
Yeah.
But no. Brian Stout Arm is Boros. He's a fling deck.
Yeah.
I'm just basically playing creatures with high powers and then flinging them at people. So that kind of makes sense. I mean, that should probably be higher, to be honest. But hey, this is my first draft. I played him for the first time this week. So
you just put it together. So
yeah. And then spoiler alert. Okay, my highest was Gearson. So which was sorry, I got that mixed around, but yeah, he's got 20 card advantage spells in there, and that makes a lot more sense to me because I have a lot of I got a lot of brainstorms, deep analysis, like that kind of stuff in there. So
cool. Yeah, so using our averages and comparing it to the WotC average, we're going to go with our gold standard being 16 to 18 instances of card advantage in your deck. If you can manage 18 plus, like I was saying earlier, the more the merrier when it comes to card advantage. If you can go over 18, perfect. You're going to be drawing cards and playing cards like none other. And you're going to feel good about it. But I think that 16 to 18 feels like a really fair range.
Agreed.
It's a good starting point. I think going below 16 generally leads to that a higher risk of going into that top deck mode, which I say it can be a death sentence. You're definitely going to not win games where you're just top decking, and it leads to really unfun play patterns, like we were saying, where you get to watch your opponents with a full grip of cards, casting like multiple spells per turn, and you go, okay, untap, upkeep, draw. Okay, I'm top decking, playing a forest, pass turn. Like you don't want to be there.
Fun.
So for that reason, I think that 16 to 18 is like a good starting point. If you can add more, definitely do that, but definitely don't go below that kind of 16 mark. Again, sometimes it just happens. Like with my Joven deck, I don't have a ton of really good card advantage engines available to me for that deck. If you can't manage 16, try for like 12 and see where that takes you. But really want to be hitting at least 16 to 18 card advantage, if not more than that. And again, Magic is it's simply more fun to play when you have cards at your disposal and spells that you can cast.
No, exactly.
On to removal. So removal and interaction in general, I think, is just kind of generally undervalued as an effect in Commander, because we're when you approach 100 card singleton based around a whole game plan for what you're going to do with your commander and the synergies with your commander, you're naturally going to want to play into the synergies of your deck, then consider disrupting the synergies of your opponent's deck. I think it's just when you're building a deck, you have way more fun including this 4-mana goofy creature that adds +1/+1 counters than adding Swords to Plowshares when you already have a Path to Exile, right?
Yep.
But when you actually are playing, you look at your hand, I've got this 4-mana beast that doesn't really do anything, and my opponent's going to win. It's like, well, I really wish I had that Swords to Plowshares
if
in
only.
this deck, you know what I mean? So, like I said, it's so easy to fall into the trap of considering what you're doing, what your high synergy deck is all about, the synergies of your own deck. But you also, in Commander, because it's multiplayer, you have to consider 3 other players and trying to disrupt them winning. Otherwise, we end up in this situation where it's like, all right, we're kind of all playing solitaire because we are just jamming cards, trying to position ourselves to win, and we're in this race. We're not really beyond combat or whatever. Sometimes you even reach a board state where it's just you can't even tell what's going on anymore on anyone's board, and it's because I think generally speaking, a lot of people removal tends to be, at least for me, when I first started building decks, removal was I've got a Swords of Plowshares, I've got an Abrade in my Boros deck, I've got removal. I've got like, 2 or 3 pieces.
That's how I still think.
Which I think is fine. I think it's just because of course we want our decks to do the thing. So we tend to undervalue disrupting our opponents from doing their thing a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's why I think on average we're maybe a little bit low than where we should be. Again, you look at things like Swords to Plowshares, Pongify, Cut Down, Chaos Warp, Return to Nature. I had to run through Wooburg. Like there are no excuses. In all 5 colors, you have removal at your disposal. Now, some colors do removal better than others, right? Like green only has Beast Within for creatures. Well, that's made up for with like the Return to Nature effects, right? Removing artifacts and enchantments. They're really good at that.
And like it doesn't have like straightforward removal, but it also has like ram through where it's like this creature fights this creature.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, there's a lot of green removals. Just, hey, I'm playing the bigger, badder creature, so that if I swing at you, you either choose to block. That's how green does creature removal. It's with the green creatures for sure.
Exactly.
So Wizards precons average about 9 removal spells in both 2023 and 2024. The greatest outlier being from Duskmourn, the most recent set of precons, Endless Punishment, which is Valgavoth, Harrower of Souls, with 17 removal spells.
That's so many.
But it's a Rakdos deck that's all it cares about is dealing damage. So it's like,
yeah, it checks out. Okay.
Yeah. And I also have a deck that's like that. So my average is also around 9. So I'm kind of around the WotC standard. My lowest is Titania, which only has Beast Within. I've got 1 removal spell in Titania.
Love it.
And that's because this is my like lands combo deck. And it's my one deck where I'm like, I don't care what my opponents do. I'm just going to try to like do my thing and win. It's that mindset of like, I want to see my synergy do its thing. And I admit to that with Titania. But Titania is like, I do not have that much interruption. It has a lot of protection. It's got some fog effects. So rather than being proactive and removing stuff, it's like more defensive. And we'll talk about protective spells and that kind of thing in fogs a little bit later for other things to consider when building a deck. But yeah, just 1 removal spell does feel a little bit silly for Titania, but it's mono green. You know what I'm talking about? Like I'm just trying to do my lands combo and
it's honest.
Exactly. We're
honest folk.
Exactly. My highest is my Vati Ildal deck, which has 20 removal spells.
Okay.
But that is because the whole theme of that deck is sniping down my opponent's creatures to prevent them from like attacking me or whatever.
Yeah.
And then also to proc awards off of those removal effects, such as like Cheval, Bane of Monsters puts bounty counters on stuff. And then whenever I can snipe down something with a bounty, I get to draw a card as my reward. So it's like flavorful. It's like this like sniper theme where I'm just like picking down my opponent's cards. So it's, if you have a deck that's focused around removal on principle, you're going to have a ton of removal effects. So Vati with 20 is my highest by far, which I think actually, if we're looking at you average 8 removal, which is pretty good. I think
it's not bad.
If I'm being honest, that's more than I was expecting.
That's more than I was expecting as well.
And I think it's because Gearson is your highest with 16.
Yeah, he's got 16, which makes sense. Also, a lot of those removals are like kill a creature and then take 1 damage. Like, it's like a lot of it's like that, those kind of red burn, with benefits kind of spells.
Burn with benefits.
And so it makes sense though too that like my lowest would be 3 because it's mono green.
Yeah, it's Yorvo and Baru. Your mono green decks only have 3, which
makes sense. So yeah, what do we recommend?
So even though WotC says 9, I've got 9, you've got 8. I'm going to recommend 10. So Wild Dog's recommendation for any amount of just like targeted removal is going to be 10 instances of either single targeted, maybe multi-targeted, but targeted removal, we need to have 10 of those.
Okay.
I think we're more conservative. I think being conservative is fine. If you really can't run the extra, if you're already running Path and you're considering swords, like I was saying, 9 times out of 10, you'd rather have the swords or whatever. You'd rather have the removal spell than your synergy piece.
Yeah.
But you can also end up, I'm sure, you end up in a situation where, I just am one piece away from like my board popping off, and then you draw your swords and you're like, oh well, whatever. But I think playing on the safe side and running 10 removal spells is gonna increase the fun factor again, because you're interacting. We're playing like against each other. Again, the whole like multiplayer Magic is fundamentally flawed, and we love it because of it. But if we're all just playing solitaire and we're all just trying to do our own thing, that's where Commander games drag on and like get really diluted. And like you look at your like someone across from you diagonally, and you look at their board and like, I can't even see half those cards over there. It's like, well, if you had run a couple more removal spells, you could have taken care of some of those issues. So
we had some removal on this in this game.
Yeah. I do want to mention real quick again, counter spells. We're going to talk about counter spells a little bit later, but you can only really play them in blue decks. I mean, there are a couple in white. There are, I think, actually a couple in red now. We've got your like deflecting SWAT type effect, but that's a whole other thing because it's removal. And if you're playing blue, I would definitely consider running counter spells over your removal spells because they're generally more powerful effects. Can be used, not just proactively. You can use them defensively as well. Just beyond harming your opponent's board state, you can protect your own board state with counter spells. So for that, I think if you're playing blue, you should maybe swap out a few of your targeted removal spells with counter spells. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. So
sounds good.
10 removal spells. Do not cut them for the synergy piece.
Or do.
Oh, who cares? Play mono green lands and don't even run removal spells. I should just take Beast Within out of my...
honestly, yeah, I'm pissed off that it's there.
So we might have to...
That's one less creature you could play.
See, that's the... There we go. There's the mono green.
That's the mono green
right
in me. Yeah.
All right, so on to board wipes. So board wipes function as like a reset button when you're starting to fall behind. I personally struggle with board wipes. I think, again, it's that like, well, if I'm going like wide or if I'm trying to develop a board with creatures, why would I want to wipe the board? You think that like having 3 board wipes in your deck is going to be just detrimental to your plan, but I think having a few at your disposal so you can draw into them, you're more likely to draw into them at any given moment, is going to allow you to, if someone gets out of control, we can reset everyone, bring us all kind of back to a similar board state. And a lot of times, with more efficient board wipes, if you're later in the game, you can actually, they put you ahead, right?
Yeah.
You cast your Wrath of God or whatever for 4 mana. You've got a bunch of mana up. You've got your cards because you're running 20 card advantage spells or whatever. You can then bounce back and be like, all right, I wipe everyone else's board. Then I have priority because it's my turn. And I'll get, 2 or 3 more non-land permanents onto my board before passing to you. So like now I'm ahead. I've got creatures on board. No one else does. That's a really good place to be in. So Wizards' average amount of board wipes per precon is 3 to 4. I didn't really get into like the specifics. I think board wipes are just like, hey,
you got them or you don't.
You got them or you don't, and they're very like
no rhyme or reason.
Yeah, well, I think it's just that their effect is so consistent. It's just like your board wipes are going to disrupt everyone at the table and it's going to remove non-land permanents.
Well, okay. How about I say it this way? Like, board wipes are... I can't think of an instance where you'd want to have a board wipe for the synergy of your win con, but it's more of like a panic button type effect. Like I don't know any commanders that are like, they want you to board wipe.
That's a good point. I think there are decks more so in like 60 card constructed formats that like Azorius Control, for example, doesn't really run a ton of creatures. So wrathing your opponent, who's like, let's say you're playing against like a mono red deck or like a prowess deck, and they've got all 4 of their creatures out, and you're playing control or whatever. Cast a Wrath of God, doesn't affect your game plan at all. Wipes all them out. But that being said, Azorius Control isn't like as common in Commander. Like 4-player, like you're not seeing those types of like Armageddon control decks. It's just not the vibe of casual Commander at all. So yeah, I think I agree with you that board wipes are just, they serve kind of just one purpose, and they don't, like you said, necessarily synergize with what you got
Kinda
going
like
on.
a combo piece, No.
That being said, you can pick ones that, because of your deck's play style, become more efficient. Like, for example, I'm trying to think. I used to hold on. Let me pull this up quick. I think I've got it in my. I probably actually cut it because I'm personally, I do not like board wipes. It's not that I don't like board wipes. I'm just trying to. That's where I go into that mindset of like, I'm trying to do my thing faster and better than you, and I tend to cut board wipes more than anything else. So my average is 2. I have multiple decks just straight up with 0 because they're effects that they do what you want it to do, and they do them well, and they help bring you back into a game if you're falling really far behind. Okay, Hour of Reckoning is one that I wanted to show off because this is one that does synergize with the deck. Hour of Reckoning is 4 and 3 white for sorcery with Convoke, so you can tap your creatures to help pay for it. Destroy all non-token creatures. So this is a wrath that typically kills all of the creatures that my opponents care about. In my Alharu and Falthus deck, which this is my spirit token deck, that basically Alharu's effect is whenever a non-token creature you control dies with a +1/+1 counter on it, you create a 1/1 spirit.
Yeah.
So in this case, Hour of Reckoning, it kills all of my non. If I have a bunch of non-token creatures on board, this is effectively a sack outlet for my commander to trigger, and I get all these spirits, and they're tokens, so they don't get wrath. So this, in a weird way, Hour of Reckoning, it's a wrath effect that kills all of my opponent's creatures, while also like potentially doubling or tripling the amount of spirit tokens I have because of my commander.
Yeah.
And going super wide and not killing any of the spirit tokens I already have.
Yeah, I have the same effect in Zabaz too, where I have like organic extinction in there that kills everybody else, but all my artifacts stay alive. So no, there are use cases for it, but like, I don't see it as necessary as card advantage or
sure,
someone's game plan. So
yeah, that's why I think in general you only need. So like I said, Watsy says 3 to 4. I average 2. Luke also averages 2 because he's got mono green decks that they don't have wraths.
We don't do that.
Gearson, I guess I didn't put how many Gearson has, but Gearson has the most with.
He probably has like 3.
7.
7.
You got 7 board wipes in Gearson.
Wow. Okay. That was not on purpose, everybody.
Yeah. I mean, it probably considers stuff because you've probably got a lot of effects that deal X damage or whatever.
Actually, no, that's exactly what it is. It's
there's
a couple cards that are
effects.
like everything takes 1 damage, including the player.
Yeah, those are considered wipes. So.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I do want to point to mono black, obviously Damnation being like one of the classic staple board wipes. I do want to point, they've got some that are like 7, 8, 9 mana. I think it's like there's a Garrick one where basically kill all of your opponent's creatures. And while they're really expensive, like I'm running Plague Wind in my Xiaohu Dun mono black deck, that's costing 9 mana, but it's destroy all creatures you don't control.
That's really good.
And you can think of this. So like, how I was just saying how if you Wrath of God for 4 mana late game and you have extra mana, you can play spells with the rest of your mana. That can be like an 8 or 9 mana turn. What Plague Wind says is for the 9 mana that with the extra few mana that you'd spend rebuilding, you don't even have to rebuild. You just kill everyone else's stuff and your board stays intact. So like the downside of this being 9 mana feels really, really high. But as a late game Wrath, this completely
changes,
tops your Wrath of God, your more efficient Wraths, because it saves, if you've got a huge established board that you don't want to like tamper with, you can just use Plague Wind as like effectively a win con potentially.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool. I like these. They're not the best. Like obviously your Wrath of Gods, the 4 CMC is like the sweet spot for Wrath effects or board wipe effects, I should say. But these high costed ones are just so like, they have a lot of appeal to me because it's like, oh, this is like a Wrath that also will probably win me the game if I've got a good board state. So I'm kind of high on these really expensive ones. I think it's called Ingarrick's Wake. Yeah, 9 mana, destroy all creatures you don't control and all planeswalkers you don't control. So
it's like a better version of the same thing.
Yeah, better. It's a quote unquote, again, strictly better Plague Wind, but I like Plague Wind because it's got this cool art.
There you go.
And it's white border. So.
And it's cheaper.
Yeah. Well, it's about the same price. Actually, Ingarrick's Wake is like a $1 card.
Oh, okay. Just kidding.
They're both 9 mana. Anyways, yeah, so board wipes. WotC says you need 3 to 4. Luke and I, we only average 2, which that's just, again, to our play style.
Whatever.
We are going to, because of that, we are going to recommend 2 to 3 board wipes. 3 feels like the sweet spot. We personally don't run as many, but anything 4+ feels excessive because they can just be dead cards in your hand otherwise.
Yeah.
Like if you've got a really nice board and you're like ahead, wraths are just actively bad.
Yeah, you don't want that.
Yeah, so and if you've got like 5 or 6 wraths, again, it depends on what your commander wants to do. They could just end up being like dead cards. And in fact, not just dead, like they go against you winning the game. They're just harmful to you.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are again, we went through the 5 categories. Let me run.
Let's hear it again.
I'll run through WotC's averages, and then I'll go through our gold standard recommendations. So WotC Commander Precon averages for lands 37 to 38, ramp 15 to 16, card advantage 19, removal 9, and board wipes 3 to 4. Our Wild Dogs gold standard commander recommendations.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Lands 36 to 38, ramp 14 to 16, card advantage 16 to 18, removal 10, and board wipes 2 to 3. How do you feel about that, Luke?
No, I mean, I think we're right on the money. And I was just about to say too is it's kind of nice to put numbers to general feelings, of like, hey, this deck that I have feels really good.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I look at their averages and our recommendations and it fits within there and you're like, oh, okay, makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Did that kind of validate some of your decks after crunching the numbers? Did it kind of validate like, hey, this one feels really good to play, and now I know why?
Yeah, I know, absolutely. Like I mentioned before, like Joven, like a good example of this is like Joven. I knew poor card draw, and in general, I do go into top deck mode with that deck.
Okay,
and so yeah, I knew that was going to be low going into this, but seeing just in general, like the fact that I have about 17 average card advantage effects per deck feels good. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And I know that the decks that are kind of on the lower end for card advantage, like even beyond Joven, my Karlach deck is highly ramp focused. It only has 11 card advantage spells. It's something to improve upon, right? Like it's nice to have these numbers both from WotC, seeing what they're doing, what their averages are, and also looking at each of those decks individually and comparing them to my decks and maybe decks that are similar, whether it be like same color pairing to a WotC Precon, or has a similar game plan. I can go and look in and see, okay, so I'm building my Feldegriff is a group hug deck. Well, I know WotC just released that peace offering, the Miss Bumbleflower.
Miss Doubtfire.
Yeah, the Miss Doubtfire that you have. And I can go and I can look, okay, yeah, they also have 23 card advantage spells.
There you go.
Because they're also trying to make everyone draw cards. And so my 27 feels about right for a group hug deck. You know what I mean? So it's really nice to now have these numbers to contextualize my decks. And in general, I feel pretty happy with where I am, even though I have my personal preferences of like maybe running more removal than WotC runs and running less board wipes than WotC does. Those types of things.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I feel really good to have this gold standard. I guess I keep saying, but like these are kind of our golden rules when it comes to building a commander deck. And if we go below, we can reassess. Like if I notice that my ramp effects are like, oh, they're only like 8 or 9. Well, do I need to, increase? Do I need to? Let's play this deck at the table and see how it plays out. And adjust accordingly now that we have the data to back it.
Yeah.
So some other deck elements to consider now that we have all of our essentials covered. I wanted to talk about some other things regarding your deck while you're building, such as on-theme cards. We keep talking about synergy, right? You want your deck to have a game plan, have a strategy.
Yeah.
And I've, in my research, I saw a lot of people say, they said like anywhere between 30, 35, 36 cards that match the game plan and synergies of the deck. And I think that sounds about right. There's often overlap between your the essentials and what your game plan is. I think that's part of the fun of building for Commander is finding cards that synergize with your commander, but also are removal.
Yeah.
Synergize with your commander, but also ramp you into whatever. Like, for example, if you're running a deck that wants to win with Craterhoof Behemoth, your ramp spells should all be mana dorks, right? Like you run all the 1 mana mana dorks because those are going to feel way better when you cast your Craterhoof than all your mana rocks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like that's where, really tweaking and refining the essentials that we covered to fit your theme gets really, really fun. And that's like, the joy of building a commander deck for sure.
Yeah, I definitely have more than 30 to 36 on theme cards. I'm usually running like 40.
Well,
That's what's fun, It's,
yeah, and I think that's fine. And that's why, I think our, instead of, your removal average is lower. That's because instead of playing removal, you're trying to make your deck do the thing that it wants to do.
Yeah.
So, and that's,
100%.
I think that's fair. I think if that's what you want to do, then do it. Don't run the board wipes, don't, run your Chaos Warp, your Beast Within, and your Swords to Plowshares in your Naya deck. And those are your 3 removal spells. Who cares? We're just saying with our template, that's going to be the most efficient. Again, this word efficiency keeps popping up, but like if you hit 10 removal, your deck is going to be able to, when you sit down, you can compete and interact, keyword interact with your opponent. And I think that's more fun in the long run. And it only shaves a few cards off of your synergy on theme cards. It's not the end of the world that your 4/4 beast with lifelink is gone.
Yeah, no.
Because now you can remove Johnny's combo piece, a Chroma's Will or Chroma's Memorial with your Abrade because you have it in hand now. It's in your deck.
But what is if the artwork on that 4/4 beast with lifelink looks cool?
See?
I'm switching that out for any removal,
Yeah, and again, like I said, if that's what you want to do, go for it. I just think you're gonna have a better time.
Yeah.
Running the removal, but
no, I get you.
Everyone's approach is a little bit different. These are just our recommendations, so you can have a good time almost every time you sit down to play Magic.
Yeah,
Commander specifically. So, one thing I will say about on-theme cards is don't try to create too many sub-themes. Your deck as a whole will be weaker and less focused when it's trying to do multiple things all at once. So streamlining your deck to do one, maybe 2 things, 2 goals in mind. And then, just save all your other ideas for a different deck. I think typically what that means is like, you sit down, I want to build a soldier deck, but also I want it to do like lifelink stuff, but also I want to like make a bunch of like tokens, but also like when you start to think of all these things, well, it's like maybe that's 2 decks. Maybe you have a Boros soldiers deck, and then you have a Selesnya food life gain deck. You know what I mean? Like, if you're starting to find that your game plan starting to like take a bunch of different paths, what that ends up doing is you're going to have all these, quote unquote synergy pieces that don't synergize together, and that's not good. So try to focus in on one thing, and if you start to notice a secondary theme start to pop up, then nurse that a little bit, but don't do 3, don't do 4, don't try to do a bunch of things all at once. That would be my main recommendation for synergies of your deck.
Yeah, totally agree.
Another thing to consider is protection spells. These aren't always necessary for like playing a game of Commander, but I think that I like to run at least a couple just for peace of mind. Some examples are like a Tamiyo's Safekeeping, counter spells like Negate, Swiftfoot Boots is like a big one. Untimely Malfunction is a new, I think from Duskmorn, a new deflecting SWAT type effect in red.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think being able to protect your game pieces that you really value, especially when you're going to go for a win, are strong. Like counterspell effects, if you're running blue, I typically want to see at least 3 if you're in blue, just because they're powerful. There's a reason why blue gets a bad rep for counterspells. It's because they're good cards. You will win the game when
people's lives.
They ruin the fun for everyone else, but you will win the game because you play them. I think I made a note. I think my James Wandering Dad mono blue CDH deck has 17 counterspells in it.
That's so many.
Because it's geared towards CDH. That's the whole.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's so many.
Yeah. So when it comes to protection, run like 2 or 3. Just toss in a Tameo Safekeeping, toss in a Swiftfoot Boots. You'll love having the hexproof, and it only takes up 1 or 2 card slots. So that would be my recommendation for protection, especially when you're finally starting to pick up speed. Having that Swiftfoot Boots on your commander is going to feel good. Having that Tameo Safekeeping in your back pocket is going to feel good when you're trying to go for that win. Win conditions. Play cards that you can just win the game with in the late game. Just do it, okay? Play 2 to 4 win cons. People,
we don't play this game to make friends, guys. Just
seriously,
be that guy.
There are cards. So like some classic win cons, like Craterhoof Behemoth, Thassa's Oracle, Revel in Riches. These cards where you just, if you cast them, you win. They have like this bad rap because some people don't like these like win on the spot style effects. Fuck them. Games need to end.
Tell them.
Seriously, for the love of God, 3+ hour long commander games are just simply not the way.
Also, guys, if one of your friends wins early, that means you get to play another game.
Exactly.
It's cool. Let it happen.
Yeah. Bottom line is everyone should actively be trying to win this game of Commander. If we're all just out doing our synergy combo little things, that's fine. But we're going to end up with these 3-hour long games that no one enjoys. Okay.
Nobody.
Everyone should be actively trying to win. I think, and that's for that reason, like cards, as long as you aren't turboing out or you aren't CDH level Thassa's Oracle type stuff, if that's just like potentially, I mean, self-mill is, Thassa's Oracle I think is the most controversial of these, but like if you're playing a tokens deck, yeah, put a Craterhoof Behemoth in there. Like you absolutely, like, because that thing, I mean, whether or not you can cast it, you can turbo that out. It's like how much? It's like a 9 mana card. How much is Craterhoof Behemoth? 8 mana?
Yeah, it's pretty big.
If you have mana to cast that, then you've earned it. And then we can, yeah, like you said, we can go to game 2. Yeah, it's 8 mana. If you can cast a Craterhoof, please cast it. If you can win off Revel in Riches because you have, I think it's like 10, if you have 10 treasures in your upkeep, you win the game. Guess what? It's your opponent's fault for not having the removal, because they're trying to do the whole synergy thing. It goes back to that conversation of like, I think removal just adds a level to the game because you need to be able to interact. Like if someone casts a Revel in Riches, well, does anyone have enchantment removal? No. Oh, well, I guess we all just like lose because none of us played removal, and they earned the win because they have 10 treasures. They had to create those treasures and do a full turn cycle with it on board. Like removal is key, and win cons are vital to have fun, conclusive games that don't drag on forever.
Bottom line, be a dick.
I don't know about that.
Okay, just kidding.
But yeah, just run win cons, play removal. It's going to be way more fun when you can like interact with your opponents. Is I think my long-winded point here.
Yeah, totally.
Tutors. We have to talk about tutors. Love them or hate them, they're good. They're good cards. Obviously, they go against the quote-unquote spirit of singleton, as Taylor likes to say. But I argue that they can, again, effectively advance the game in a way where, like, yeah, your Worldly Tutor gets your Craterhoof. Yes, it's like running a second Craterhoof. That feels kind of like whatever. But, like, if we're at a point in the game where you can tutor your Craterhoof and win with a Craterhoof, Godspeed. You know, like, if no one here can counter your tutor and no one here can counter your Craterhoof, that's our fault. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Also, for the former record, I don't see the beef with tutors. I don't see why people don't like them.
I think so.
I don't get it. I don't think it's that bad.
So the point I made here is that if you start to verge on CDH. If you're like in a 3-4 color, even 2 color decks, honestly, like I don't really ever play my zombie deck anymore because I run all the like good black and blue tutors, and I can just like that's where you can just set up like a deterministic combo win at a casual table. That starts to feel bad, I think.
Okay.
But if you're tutoring for like a silly, again, I don't think instead of tutoring for your silly effects for casual, you should just run another card that has, you're basically you're building your deck against what you're trying to accomplish just for the sake of it's an efficient, like expensive, like flashy spell. Like tutors, I think in casual are just flashy. I will say if you want to run tutors because you want those efficient wins and you want those lines, for a casual commander deck, run like 1 to 2.
Okay.
I have 0 is ideal. I am starting to believe that a little bit more. I think most of my decks run at least 1 or 2 tutors.
Okay.
But when you start to go into 3-4 tutors, like my zombie deck, then you're not quite at CDH power level, but you're starting to verge into that, like, hey, if I'm tutoring for my combo, how is that fun for anyone else here?
Yeah.
And I get that. Like, it's fun for me because I get to combo a win here. But yeah, I think 1 to 2 tutors for casual is like kind of the sweet spot. Any more than that, it's going to start to feel bad. But 0, if you can stay truly singleton, do it. I think it's the best, it's the healthiest for casual commander. That being said, Worldly Tutor as a second Crater Hoof isn't the end of the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of my 2 cents on tutors. Just run a couple if you need to, but you don't really need them.
Yeah, bring back Tinker.
All right, Luke. Anyways.
Anyways.
The kind of final other thing I wanted to talk about is like kind of control focused pieces. So like Graveyard Hate, stacks pieces, just classic control. I think my rule of thumb is just run these pieces if they're your thing. But I think if this is like your thing, then maybe you should be playing CDH.
Yeah, casual commander's not for you.
Because if you look at like, I forget, it's like Grand Arbiter Augustine, where he's just like a stacks piece in the command zone, or like Hinata, Dawn Crowned, which is a Jeskai commander that spells I cast cost 1 less for each target, and spells your opponent's cast cost 1 more for each target. Like I really love this card. I have a foil copy of it.
It looks really cool.
The art is amazing. It's in Jeskai. It's like, this card looks awesome. But every time I sit down to like build this, I'm like, I have a stacks piece in my command zone. Like, this just sucks. Like, and if you like that, like maybe CDH is more your vibe. But yeah, I just think they're good in small quantities. How about that?
I would also add to the list as well is like land hate.
Yeah.
Removing other people's lands.
Yeah, like Armageddon. I put that in like control. Like your Armageddons,
Yeah.
your Stone Rains, all those types of, like, obviously Stone Rain's like a bad magic card, but for Commander specifically. But yeah, your Armageddons, that's definitely kind of in the control category. And yeah, land destruction is like this. It's a huge.
It's kind of a war crime, a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Play the game.
Land hate is definitely or land destruction is a highly controversial approach to Commander for sure.
Hey, you can destroy your own lands, but there's some lands commanders that want to play that you want to play stuff from lands from the graveyard, but killing your friends' lands not ideal.
No bueno.
No bueno.
So there we have it, guys. We've got our deck template all ready to go. We've got all our gold standard recommendations. Again, just run through them real quick one last time before we move on to Luke's analytics.
Yeah.
Lands, run 36 to 38. Ramp, 14 to 16. Card advantage, 16 to 18. Removal, about 10. And then 2 to 3 board wipes. And those are your essentials. And have fun with it. Just have fun with it. Like, once you found a commander that speaks to your soul, try to stick to these numbers, get funky with it, and just like have fun. Like I said, there's a reason we did this, and it's because Luke and I just love building commander decks.
Yeah.
Like hopping on Moxfield after you find a goofy legendary creature and just messing around with it is just, I love that creative process. I love, it's like a puzzle that you're putting together yourself a little bit. And it's just so much fun. So hopefully our blueprint helps, and yeah, enjoy it. Have fun.
Yeah, no, totally.
All right, Luke, take her away with the raw analytics.
Yeah,
as you say.
I got some raw analytics for everybody here.
Let's see it.
So okay, first of all, this kind of goes to like, I guess, data science, but like what? So okay, why is this data important? Like why is it important to look at the data? And I guess really quick before I go into that, all the stuff I'm about to talk about, here's kind of how this came about. So basically what I did was that I started off by creating a card database of like, hey, here's every unique card that was seen in a commander deck in the last 2 years, in 2023 and 2024. And when I say unique, I'm not talking about like, I'm talking about like every time, every specific card that was, in a deck. So not necessarily like every card that was in standard or that was in that set, but what was seen in a precon is what we're looking at. And so I made this database of all these cards. By the way, shout outs to Scryfall. Their API is open to the public. Anybody can write code that can interact with Scryfall. They have some rules about like, hey, don't like, ping us once a second. Like don't ping us multiple times. Don't, we got to pay the bills and we got to eat. So, be nice, follow their rules, but they have a Scryfall API, and that's where all this information came from. Basically created a database of every card found in a commander precon over the last 2 years. By the way, Moxfield, you're being stingy. Open up your API. Let us be able to.
Well, yeah. I did want to. I saw your note on this, and I wanted to point this out. Moxfield tweeted just November 26th. It looks like they were like. It says, okay, so here's the tweet. If you're using our API for a legitimate reason and it's no longer working, please reach out to us on Discord and establish a relationship with us so we can make it right. It'll take some time, but we'll get things back up and running. We just need to filter out the baddies. So to me, this sounds like
someone's
people were like messing with.
Oh God,
because I can imagine because they're basically now a database for all these commander decks and all these decks for all these different formats. So maybe they're hitting this point where they're trying to figure out how to, if they're gonna give people access to their API, they need to be able to. I don't know, because now all these deck lists, it's not just Scryfall is just like true data on these cards, right? This also, Moxfield's now kind of like branching into this social media-esque era because it's accounts too. It's account information for all these people.
Yeah.
That might be like the layer to why they're stingy with like handing out the rights, because all these lists are attached to like everyone's accounts. Everyone who has a Moxfield account is probably connected to the API to some extent, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, maybe. Well, just the reason, we use Moxfield to accumulate the lists of all the precons because Wizards of the Coast has their own account and they put up their deck lists for all their precons. So I was pulling the deck lists from Moxfield, and I had to all do it manually. It was it was kind of a mess. But anyways, you guys don't care about that, but created a, thanks though to Scryfall, with their API, that was very, very helpful for all of this. But basically created a card database, and then from there I created scripts, Python scripts for analyzing the cards in the database and coming up with these conclusions. So that's kind of how this was made. So why is the data important? Basically, the reason why data is important is because this, the data here basically sets the pace for Commander from WotC's perspective. So this is kind of shows what they value and what they want to push in Commander. And then, for us consumers, why that's important is that it shows us like, how much support are we going to get from WotC? Are there going to be, what new types of cards and what can we kind of expect? So for instance, if you're like, hey, I'm a mono white player, that's all I care about. Well, we can see from the data how much WotC cares about white. And so you can kind of expect, or, hey, I'm a Golgari player. That's all I play. That's all my decks. It's my favorite color combo. It's like, well, we know now through this data, like how often you are supported by Commander products. So I'm going to just kind of go through this. I'm not going to talk about every number and stuff like that, but I'm just going to kind of talk about, kind of the general findings. So first of all, this data set was taken from the last 2 years, which is 14 sets, 52 different decks, and 2,638 unique cards. So over the last 2 years, which, I mean, that's a lot of cards if you think about it. But like over the last 2 years, in the precon, products alone, there were 2,638 unique cards. That's a lot. That's
crazy.
That's wild.
That's crazy to think about.
That's a lot of cards in just one product line.
Right.
Think about that. Not even counting standard or anything else. So let's just kind of break it down. I have these in different categories. So the first category here is the most popular cards overall. So what cards, did we see time and time again in these decks? And by far the biggest, most popular card in all the Commander decks, comes as no surprise, was Arcane Signet. It was seen in 51 decks, and it was only excluded from one deck, which was the colorless Eldrazi Unbound deck.
Right.
Which makes sense.
Yeah. Arcane Signet literally doesn't tap for mana in that deck.
Nope. Yes.
So
it does nothing. So it makes sense why it was excluded from one deck. So now I'll just kind of go through it. Artifacts. There were 328 artifacts, unique artifacts in this, card database. And the most popular one, Arcane Signet, as I just said. Next is creatures. There was exactly 1,300 creatures. I thought that was kind of a fun number, exactly 1,300.
Yeah, and it's almost exactly half the amount of unique cards, which, I mean, makes sense. Creatures are vital to all formats, especially in a multiplayer setting. So pretty cool.
Exactly. So 1,300 creatures, and the most popular creature was Solemn Simulacrum, which was seen in 10 of the decks. Next are instants. There was exactly 200, another round number. I like it. And the most popular instant was Swords to Plowshare, which was found in 17 decks. We've talked about that card now a couple times, and there's a reason for it. It's a very...
Don't cut it. Don't cut it for the 4/4 beast.
Or do. All right. Next, we got sorceries. There was exactly 265 sorceries. And the most popular one was Cultivate, which was found in 12 decks.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I would expect it to be something like a Cultivate, right? Where it's ramp and fixing at the same time.
Exactly. So next are enchantments. There were 311 enchantments, and Spirited Companion was the most popular one, found in 4 decks.
I love Spirited Companion so much.
It's a great card.
It's so good. I've got it in my Preston the Vanisher deck, and it's in my considering for my Wilson Refined Grizzly Enchantress deck. So
do it.
It's just, I love that enchantment doggo. So good.
Yeah, and it's got great art. It's a great card.
It does.
All right. There were 53 equipments, and the number one goes without saying, Lightning Greaves.
See, I'm actually a little bit surprised that it wasn't Swiftfoot Boots.
Okay.
Compared to Lightning Greaves. I guess we did see quite a few reprints of Lightning Greaves the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think it's probably just the cheaper one.
It actually was the expensive one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Swifties is a little bit less pricey money-wise. And it also has hexproof instead of shroud, so it's a little bit more like, I think, commander-friendly. If you're like targeting... Because shroud basically means you also can't target your commander, which in a lot of cases is fine, but I think hexproof is a little bit more intro player friendly, and precons tend to be catered more towards that audience. So obviously love to see more reprints of Lightning Greaves to bring that price down, but surprised it wasn't Swiftfoot Boots being the more popular of those two options.
Yeah. Well, there you go. I don't know. Wizards,
all right.
What you doing? All right. We got 2 more left. So of the auras, there was 53 auras, and the most popular one was Shiny Impetus, which is it gives a creature +2/+2. It's goaded, and then also whenever it attacks, it makes a treasure token.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's
I
a
love
good
that. I love that card. It's also interesting that there are 53 equipment and 53 auras. So,
Oh,
yeah.
there you go.
For those, for you Voltron lovers, we've got a good spread
We have
between
an
the
even
two.
spread.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the last one, also kind of fun. The number one fancy land, the non-basic land, is there were 306 of them, and the most popular, goes without saying, Command Tower. It's found in 52 decks, and the two it was missing from is the Eldrazi Unbound and the Angels deck, which are both monocolored, so it makes sense.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And Eldrazi Unbound again doesn't even tap for mana because the commander's
Yep,
colorless.
it's
So
colorless, so-
Command Tower is literally useless. And then Angels, yeah, is mono white. So you just put a plains in there.
Yeah, makes sense. So really quick, overall mana curve of all the cards, kind of goes without saying, but the 3-drop was by far the highest.
Yeah, just looking at this, Luke made this beautiful graph here to show a curve as we're used to seeing the curve in your deck builder site. Yeah, it looks like a commander mana curve.
Yep.
Easily, yeah. It looks great.
they probably do the same analytics on their end, so it makes sense.
Yep.
So then okay, so here's a fun one. So here is the I won't go through, again, I won't go through like the whole list here, but I also have the mana percentages for all cards. And so kind of how this works is like, it's how often does a color show up in a card, and this is regardless of if it's monocolored or multicolored. It's just kind of how often does a color show up across all cards. And the winner was white. 591 cards are white, and that's 22.5% of the mana of the pool, of the card pool. And second to that was actually green, which was 2 less. So
Pretty much neck and neck.
pretty much neck and neck. Yeah, green and white. And then by far the worst was red. 447 cards, which is 17% of the pool. The card pool was red. Yeah. So that's pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense though, right? Like these numbers, looking at them, basically in order it goes white, green, blue, black, red, and that if I were to like guess, just like from like how powerful these colors are in Commander specifically, red being the lowest makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
it just has the least. I'd say it's maybe the most like a narrow color, and it also, again going back, it doesn't offer a lot of card advantage. It has removal, but it's pretty narrow. I think it's usually just artifact focused or damage focused. You have some outliers like Chaos Warp, which is a staple, but this makes sense to me.
Yeah. No, and also too, like as like a digestible to the average consumer, makes sense that these are the colors that, white and green are pretty straightforward. Yeah. Black and, black, even red is kind of straightforward. I don't know.
Yeah, I just think that red is like a more supplementary color to, like, we've actually, I think, seen a lot of Naya, the white, green, and red within the last, I think 2024 specifically, we've got a few Naya red, white, and green decks because, like you said, those are pretty digestible colors.
Yeah. All right, moving forward. So now this is a little weirder to explain, but as monocolored cards go, here's kind of what's most popular. So kind of goes without saying, colorless it's not a color technically, but colorless is the most popular monocolored, percentage. After that is white, like I just said. Red's the worst. So now dual 2 colored identities. The most popular is Simic. Yep. Which is pretty cool. And then Gruul is the worst. And Simic is blue green, Gruul is red green. So makes sense. Simic is very synergetic. Lots of synergies there. That they kind of complement, blue and green complement each other a lot. So, and red and green. I mean, it's fun. I like Gruul a lot, so I was kind of surprised to see that. But it's by far the worst.
Yeah, I think just thinking about multicolored gold. I guess you could call them gold cards. It makes a lot of sense that Simic would be at the top here because you think of like effects similar to Growth Spiral. You think of even beyond legendary creatures, just regular creatures. There's a lot of Simic, just regular creatures as well. Whereas Gruul feels more like that feels like a color pairing that would only be present on like a removal spell or a legendary creature, right?
Yeah.
So that's interesting though. I mean, Simic being top dog makes a lot of sense, especially in precons where effects like Growth Spiral should be in a lot of those decks. And like when you're running Simic, you have a lot of gold cards because blue-green cards are because ramp and card draw, you staple those to a card, those are going to be good cards. And you want, newer players or players who are picking up precons to have powerful effects in those colors, and there just so happens to be a lot of Simic cards beyond just legendary creatures, beyond just the commander that can do a lot for you in a game of Commander.
No, definitely. And then as 3-colored and 5-colored popularity goes, Jeskai, which is white, blue, red, red, white, and blue. Yep. Makes sense. Why that's the number one. And then the last one, the worst one, was Timur, which is blue, red, green.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, Jeskai being most prevalent makes sense. Like you said, there are a lot of, I think there are a couple enchantments. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. Definitely sorceries, because those are spellslinger colors. Probably legendary creatures. Yeah, Temur, on the other hand, is very, like, blue, red, green, feel very, like, ultimatum or legendary creature. Like, I can't think of it other instant, or there might be a couple enchantments, but yeah, this feels very much just like, it might even be, there's only 3 cards that are Temur. They're probably all just legendary creatures.
Yeah. And kind of a fun little number here, but there are 5 colored cards in the last 2 years.
Nice.
Kind of fun. Okay. All right. Sorry, I'll kind of go through this kind of quickly. So that's just the card pool in general that we just talked about. And now we're going to talk about the commanders themselves.
Okay.
The cards piloting the decks.
Gotcha. So these are the legendary creatures, and specifically is it the face commander?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Specifically
Okay.
the face commander, not the backup commander.
Perfect.
Just the face. So as mana curves goes, the majority of commanders are 4-drops.
Makes sense.
It feels stable. It's easy to, you can get it out on turn, 3 or 4 at most, makes sense.
And it's kind of funny. There's almost like you can almost see a mana curve here, right?
Yeah.
With like, there are 0, 0, and 1 cost commanders, which makes sense. I think there are only a handful of 1 CMC legendary creatures anyways.
Yeah. None.
2 has 2. I'm going to quick run through this just to like give a picture. This would be a good one for a graph. We should do a graph for a couple of these. But yeah, 2 mana commanders, there are 2. 3 mana, there are 11. And then from 3 to 4, we go to 22 at the 4 slot, back down to 10 at 5. And then 6 has 2, 7 has 1, 8 has 2. So makes a lot of sense, right? Like, you want a commander that's powerful, that has like a cool effect, which you probably aren't going to see at 2 mana. And then, have them actually be castable. So 3, 4, and 5, those are reasonable casting costs. 6, 7, and 8, that, again, it's too much. Like,
it's hard to get out.
Really hard to get out. So this makes a lot of sense for 4 to be kind of the sweet spot of having a commander that has a cool, powerful effect that isn't too overcosted.
Agreed. And like for me personally, I actually like 3-drop commanders the most. Like if you look at all my commanders, they're 3 or less, but that's just personal preference. I think 4 is perfect. Yeah. So it makes sense. Okay, so now we're gonna get into the color count for like how many different colors the precon commanders are, and kind of again goes without saying, but the 3-colored, the tri-colored commanders are the most popular.
Yep.
But there was 10 of them, but also dual color was right after it, which had 9. So they're kind of neck and neck, but it makes sense that the 3-color would have more 3 colors because it just gives you more options of cards to play. 3 colors versus 2. Yeah, and then as commander color pairs go, the most popular ones were Simic, which is green and blue, Naya, which is green, red, and white, and then Jeskai, which is red, white, and blue. And those are the most popular. Yeah, I mean, makes sense. Those are, we see those cards over and, those color combos over and over again, not just in legendary creatures, but also in spells and just regular creatures. And also something else to note is that, I mean, outside of all of the mono colors, everything is represented. There's at least one, there's at least one of each color combination in the last 2 years.
Right. Which is cool.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Obviously minus the mono, which makes sense.
Yeah, minus the mono.
I don't think mono colored commander decks, and I think we excluded the because they did a set of starter commander decks, but that might have been 2022. That might have been why we didn't do them. But
yeah, I don't have those in my list.
Yeah, I didn't. Those might have just be 2022. But regardless, like it makes sense to teach someone. Oh, the starter decks are 2 color too, I think. I misremembered that. Yeah, it makes sense for if you're teaching a player commander specifically, the majority of commander decks are going to be 2+ color, right?
Yeah.
I don't think giving someone a mono red deck or a mono black deck is a good representation at all. Because again, red being arguably the weakest color, having a mono red precon probably feels pretty bad. Like I'm trying to envision a mono red precon, like maybe a Cranko precon. It's not the best representation of the format for sure.
No, agreed. But yeah, no. So that's kind of the analytics for these decks, and just kind of to go over it again. It seems that 2 and 3, colored commanders are kind of the sweet spot. It gives you the versatility to have multiple. You have a bigger card pool to pull from. And yeah, even though I personally love mono-colored commander decks, they're my favorite. I can see why, it's recommended to have at least 2, and and it's probably better to have 3.
Right, because I think rule of thumb when building a singleton deck, even just beyond commander, if you want to look big picture, if you're looking to accomplish like I was saying, a singular goal, or you have a certain strategy in mind, the more colors you have access to, the better spells, the more spells you have that are as efficient as possible and are as synergistic as possible. You have obviously a bigger card pool with the highest synergy cards for that particular task. Like for example, like a mono green +1/+1 counters deck works if you have Yorvo at the helm, right?
Yeah.
But because he's mono green, you don't get access to a Cathar's Crusade in white, or I don't know, the proliferate effects of blue.
Yeah.
Or there are a ton of +1/+1 counter G synergies for creatures in black. So by like reducing the amount of colors, you're reducing the amount of options you're giving a player by going monocolor. So
yeah,
it makes sense for precons, for someone picking up the game to not be like, set into one color and thinking that that's the only way of accomplishing that particular goal. It shows them that, blue and green can allow me to get to big creatures faster because I get to draw cards while also playing while ramping into the big creatures. I think that's why Simic is so popular. It's because it shows a new player, blue's good because I get to draw my ramp spells that I play in green.
Yeah.
And that allows me to get to my 6 and 7 drop, Leviathans or whatever.
Yeah,
I'm thinking about my AC landfall deck that much faster because the blue allows me to draw my ramp, which ramps me into these big spells. So
yeah. And then if you want to go 3-colored, Jeskai.
Jeskai?
Yeah. That's, that red, white, and blue. America's colors and Magic the Gathering's colors.
God bless America.
God bless
and Magic
America
the Gathering.
And
Richard Garfield.
Hasbro?
Well, I think that's we covered your data, covered my data, and yeah. Bottom line is we hope that all this information that we've been spewing for the last probably 2.5, 3 hours.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Well, we'll see how much this cuts down to. We've been recording for like 4 hours at this point.
Yeah, we got a lot to say, guys.
So yeah, whatever we've said over the last 2.5 hours or so. Bottom line, we hope it's useful. We want this to help you build better commander decks, to help you get into building commander decks, and yeah, again, all this data is going to be in the episode description. Go check out Luke's scripts, the code, it's all there on GitHub. I'll put the link to that. And then we'll have probably right now, like I said, a Google Drive file with all of our notes and graphs and spreadsheets and all that good stuff for you to look at and come to your own conclusions on. So
exactly. Yeah.
Cool. Well, on that note, I think we can go right into our Scryfall random spirit creature of the week.
Let's do it.
With one free mulligan.
With one free mulligan.
As always.
Okay, I got one.
Oh my God, I got something in a different language.
I love that.
I actually love this card too. You want to take it away, Luke?
Sure. Yeah, I got a card from Theros Beyond Death, which is Ashiok's Forerunner, which is for 3 blue and black. We get a 3/3 creature that has flash, and it says, when Ashiok's Forerunner enters the battlefield, you may search your library and or graveyard for a card named Ashiok, Sculptor of Fear. Reveal it and put it into your hand. If you search your library this way, shuffle it. So I don't know who this other Sculptors of Fear is, but my guess is that that's some lore shenanigans.
Yeah, so Ashiok, Sculptor of Fears is a planeswalker.
Oh.
I think that Ashiok was... I could be wrong on this, but I think this was the set that Ashiok debuted in.
Oh, okay.
That's really cool. I've never seen that Ashiok
tutor for a specific card.
I know that those are actually popular in the intro decks, the Planeswalker intro decks from 2020 or something like that.
Okay.
Where each of them had a card where it was like Basri's Lieutenant. When it's ETBs, go find your Basri Planeswalker and put it into your hand. Didn't realize there were ones for specific. Yeah,
I know. It's interesting. I would have never guessed.
It's really strange. This is Born of the Gods. What is this? So Ashiok must have been referenced because it's Theros, so it makes sense for Ashiok to have been referenced in previous cards. But it looks like the first Ashiok was in War of the Spark.
Okay. Interesting.
Which, yeah, interesting. And then their premiere. Oh wait, hold on. What is this? Scratch all that. Forget I said anything. Ashiok premiered in the OG Theros.
Okay.
So
there you go.
But then, returned in Theros Beyond Death because this is the Let's Return to Theros set. So
let's go back.
Yeah, so you said it was Ashiok Forerunner?
Forerunner, yeah.
What a cool... the art is awesome.
Art's really cool. We just got some Greek lady with cool mist coming out of her hands.
Every dream is a doorway. Yeah,
I love it.
I dig it. So mine is Orcish Oriflame, which this is every, talking about players getting into Magic, this is a card that every new player season is oh, this is a cool effect. All of my attacking creatures get +1/+0 for 4 mana. Sign me up. And I have a sweet spot for this card because of that. This when I was getting into Magic, this was you see this art with the big goofy goblin on it. With the more recent printing, you're this is a goofy card. It pumps all my creatures when they're attacking.
Yeah.
This is a cool card.
I'm in. This game is cool.
Yeah, no, this card is really bad.
But it's cool.
But it's cool. And this is the printing that I Scryfall random to was the 4 black border French Orcish Oriflame, which is Oriflamme Orc. Which, yeah.
Makes sense.
Yep. Yeah, art by Dan Frazier. The OG art, I'm pretty sure.
That's awesome.
From Alpha Beta. And it's just got a spear going through this orc skull.
Casual.
Also,
I've seen that card in a bulk bin.
Oh, yeah. A million
often.
times. I'm sure I have 3 or 4 copies of this just sitting around never to be played.
Yeah, you definitely do.
But yeah, sweet spot for Orcish Oriflame. So
That's awesome.
Happy to keep that as my spirit creature of the week.
Heck yeah.
All right. So this episode's food for Thoughtcast question is, what is your favorite 2-card combo? Some examples include Demonic Consultation into Thassa's Oracle, Painter's Servant and Grindstone, and the classic Voltaic Key Time Vault combo. Be sure to listen to the next episode to hear our answers, and let us know your answers in the comment section in our new YouTube thing.
In the YouTubes.
In the YouTubes.
In the YouTubes.
In the YouTubes. So yeah, let us know. Or email. Email too.
You can email us.
You can just shoot us quickly email.
It's on the website.
Yeah. So at wildpod.
Wildguys.com.
Whoa,
Wait,
pause.
That's a different website.
Cut. I'm just going to cut here.
That's a different website.
Wilddogspodcast@gmail.com is our email. Oh my goodness.
Getting a little loopy here at the end.
Yeah.
Guys.
We've been doing this far too long. It's time. But yeah, thanks to our sponsors. We currently have none. If you'd like to sponsor the show, please reach out to us via email at wildguys or whatever Luke said at gmail.com. No, I'm kidding. At wilddogspodcast@gmail.com. Feel free to connect with us through Twitter or Instagram at WildDogsPod and over on Discord, which you're invited to in the episode description. Finally, as always, thanks to Johnny Bartlett for creating the intro and outro music. Until next time, Wild Dogs out.
Thanks, everyone.
Magic the Gathering. Gathering magic with my friends. Playing cool cards all the time. Tutoring love for all.